Today's episode is sponsored by I Know What You Did Last Summer. Get it now on digital. When 5 friends inadvertently cause a deadly car accident, they cover up their involvement and make a pact to keep it a secret, rather than face the consequences. A year later, their past comes back to haunt them, and they're forced to confront a horrifying truth. Someone knows what they did last summer and is hell-bent on revenge. As one by one, the friends are stalked by a killer, they discover this happened before, so they turn to 2 survivors of the legendary Southport Massacre of 1997 for help. Starring Madeline Klein, Chase Sue Wonders, Jonah Hauer King with Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt. I Know What You Did Last Summer is a perfect summer slasher, says Jordan Cruciolo of NPR. Your summer is not over yet. Don't miss a killer movie night at home.
You have to control yourself!
And welcome back to Horror Queers. We're talking, birds don't just go around attacking people without no reason. We're talking, are the birds going to eat us, Mommy? And we're talking, they said when you got here, the whole thing started. Who are you? What are you? I think you're the cause of all this. I think you're evil. Evil! And I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace, and we are talking one really dedicated and committed practical joker.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, Joe, I forgot or was never aware that this was the plot of the first hour of this movie.
Oh, yes. For some reason, I thought you were talking about Hitch, which is like, Alma, I'm out here putting pranks on Tippy, and it's hilarious.
Melanie's entire thing is, I'm bored, let's go do a practical joke on this guy that pissed me off.
This is so true. She is very committed to seeing this through.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Everyone, we are discussing Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, I believe our 3rd Hitchcock film following Rebecca and Psycho, right?
Oh, no, there's another one. We've done Rope. We've done Strangers on a Train.
Oh, fuck. Oh, my God. Yep. Okay, well, our 5th Hitchcock film following all those other ones.
Let's be honest. We can do many of his films, can't we?
Well, and that's the thing is, because I think Strangers on a Train and Rope were first-time watches for me. But as I've said multiple times, I've seen the really big Hitchcock films, but also not. I've never seen North by Northwest, Notorious, Suspicion, none of those I've ever seen. I really want to start going through all these films because just revisiting this, I was like, oh, right. I love these movies.
Oh, right. These movies are really fucking good.
Well, had you seen this before? I'm assuming you had seen this before, Joe.
I had seen this several times, yeah.
Several, as a kid, as an adult?
I didn't watch any Hitchcock as a child, so I think it would have been, I've talked about my descent into film bro territory around the end of high school and into the first couple of years of my university career. Mm-hmm. Basically, I was trying to play catch up with a bunch of things because my parents notoriously did not like me to watch television, and when I was watching movies, it was mostly with my sister, and it was mostly like cheesy 80s horror stuff. So yeah, so I just always felt like I had a lot of catch up to play. Alfred Hitchcock was not in my wheelhouse, so I think I watched some of the big ones. But even like you, I haven't seen North by Northwest. I don't even know that I've seen all of Vertigo.
Oh, I've seen it once, and I didn't love it, but
you probably would now, right?
Yeah, I was a lot younger, so I was not appreciating anything outside of the fact that I was bored watching it.
Right, yeah.
But The Birds is kind of this, well, I don't know. So I definitely saw The Birds as a kid. I think probably when I was around 9 or 10 years old, because my uncle had all these movies, and I would often, whenever I would go stay with my grandparents, I would usually go through his collection, and if I had time, I would watch R-rated movies that he had. But if I didn't,
sure.
But when I was younger, I definitely found The Birds, and I don't know if I was going through a creature feature phase, because I definitely saw this after I saw Jaws, but I watched this one a lot, and it's funny because I remember every time being like, oh, the first hour is so boring, when are the birds going to attack? And I clearly wasn't listening to any of the dialogue when I was younger, because I was just waiting for those damn birds. But I was shocked rewatching this now, because I don't think I've seen this Probably since I was in high school. Like, I don't know if I've revisited it since then, but I saw it a bunch before then, which is why I never really revisited it. But I thought the first half of this movie, which is essentially like a screwball romantic comedy, was very entertaining.
Yeah, with just hints of darkness lurking around the edges. Yeah. No, it's really good. And I find that Tippi Hedren is, I mean, in some ways she's playing a bit of a terrible character, but also she's fucking feisty and I love her.
I really like the character of Melanie Daniels, and it's funny because a lot of critics at the time, including Hitchcock, even said, she's not much of a character. Tippi Hedren, she's a commercial actress. Like, you know, this isn't Grace Kelly. And I was like, I think she's really good in this, actually.
Here's the thing. Grace Kelly is a completely different style of acting. She's icy and cool and enigmatic. Tippi Hedren gives off she's the cool girl next door that you maybe want to go and smoke a J with.
Well, I think at the end of the day, though, it's because to Hitchcock, the stars of this movie were the birds. Like, Rod Taylor and Tippi Hedren were kind of like non-entities to him.
Sure, they're cardboard cutouts that he moves around to advance the plot. But this is also why Hitchcock has such a terrible reputation, right? I mean, great director, terrible with people.
Well, that's the thing is, you know, when I was doing research for this, which unsurprisingly, there's tons of information about this movie out there. But like during the making of this film and like in the pre-production of it, like he was very nice and wonderful and talking wonderful things about all these people. But in like retrospect, like I found an interview from 1980 that was kind of like this, like the Birds retrospective from Cinefantastique magazine, and he puts a lot of like quote unquote blame for like things that didn't go right in this movie on the screenwriter and also the actors, and because again the Birds were his stars. So I was kind of like, oh, that's disappointing because I guess when you think of Alfred Hitchcock, at least when I think of Alfred Hitchcock, The Birds is one of the first things I think of, even though it was a later entry effort from him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on which school of Hitchcock you're coming to, right? If you're coming to the horror stuff, then yeah, it's The Birds and Psycho.
Yeah, I guess that is true. And this was kind of viewed as a bit lowbrow for him at the time because it was quote-unquote just a monster movie.
It's a creature feature, yeah, as you said.
Well, and this bridged the gap, though, between like kind of like the 50s sci-fi monster movies we were getting with like giant ants and things like that to the monster movies we would get in the 70s, like Jaws and all those kind of ripoffs.
Yeah, I'm actually really happy that you mentioned Jaws because this does feel like a really good precursor where we're delving into some technical aspects to improve the effects, to heighten the suspense and so on, but also there's a really good movie underpinning it. Like, here's the thing. The Birds are really good in this movie. Like, all of the attack sequences are fucking scary, man. Yeah. But also, that's not the movie. The movie is about Melanie and Mitch.
Well, I think Hitchcock would disagree. The movie is about the birds. Like, Melanie and Mitch are just there until the birds attack, which...
Sure.
Either way. But, okay, so let's go into this, because I actually do have a lot of information.
Okay.
I'm pulling pretty much all of this from two different sources. One is a 2000 documentary called All About the Birds. It is available on pretty much, I think, every physical release of this film.
Okay.
And the other one is The Making of Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds by Kyle B. Counts and Steve Rubin for Cinefantastique magazine in 1980. This was, I mean, we could have made a whole podcast episode out of this article alone.
Oh, you stumbled on a pot of gold, did you?
I stumbled on a pot of gold. So I'm leaving things out, obviously, because we don't have all the time to just read this article, but we'll link to it in the show notes, y'all. It's really, if you want to know more about this movie, like, this is the article to read.
Okay.
Okay, so after Hitchcock made Psycho, which of course came out in 1960 and was obviously a major success commercially, he was having trouble looking for the next story he wanted to adapt. Even briefly toying with the idea of adapting Winston Graham's novel Marnie, but he shelved it, of course, until right after The Birds, because that's what he does right after this.
Yes, and for some reason, we've already had a brief conversation about Marnie. I can't remember which episode.
Yeah, I've never seen Marnie, and a lot of those like post-Psycho Hitchcock films, like the ones that aren't super beloved, or I guess really post The Birds, I really want to go watch those.
Yeah, I think that's what you said last time. Yeah,
probably so. Anyway, so he shelved Marnie because he thought that his League of followers would expect him to top Psycho. So he wanted to do something that wasn't in the same kind of vein as like that kind of thriller territory.
Right. Okay.
That is until 1961. Well, okay, so I have a couple different sources for this. Some say he read the short story The Birds in 1961. And The Birds, the short story, is written by Daphne du Maurier, who also wrote Rebecca.
Oh, shit. Okay, fun fact. Didn't know it was based on a book.
Oh, that's wild. Okay, so the funny thing is, the way that I knew this was based on a short story is because I had already seen the film, but my freshman year of high school, one of our literature books was literally just like a big-ass tome of a textbook that was filled with short stories, and the first story we had to read my freshman year of high school was The Birds.
Oh, interesting. For some reason, I thought you were going to say it was a big-ass tome of Daphne du Maurier stories, and I was going to say, oh, wow, poor you, boo-hoo.
Well, and I think, though, because the two books we had to read, like, the summer going into freshman year were mythology and Rebecca. And so I think we were tying in, this is a short story from the same author. Let's compare how she writes the two.
Makes sense, yeah.
But anyway, so one thing I have says he read this in 1961, was like, oh, cool, The Birds, like, it's going to be great because Daphne du Maurier wrote Rebecca, which is the first film I made in America, so it'll be like kind of this synchronicity thing that we're going on.
Absolutely, okay.
But, okay, so I have another source, though, and this is from film director Robert Boyle, who had been Hitchcock's art director for Shadow of a Doubt and North by Northwest. But he says that Hitchcock was reading The Birds while he was making North by Northwest, and they started talking about things then.
Okay, so this could have been in development much longer.
Yeah, so either 59 or 61, right before Psycho, right after Psycho. I'm not sure if it's really important, but either way.
Okay.
But he went to Boyle to say, can this film be visually realized, knowing that there's going to be a lot of technical issues with, having birds attack people.
Sure. Yeah.
Boyle viewed the story as more of a mood piece, because in the short story, nothing really carries over into the film. It's about a guy who works at a farm in Cornwall, England, and birds attack, and that's about it. Like, there's no Melanie character in the short story.
It's like a single attack sequence.
It really takes place over like 2 days. Okay. But it does end similarly ambiguously, where it's kind of like, it's kind of like The Mist, actually, where it's like, well, he's just waiting in his house as he hears birds attacking outside, and maybe they'll stop, maybe they won't.
Damn it. I had a running gag in my mind of how long is it going to take one of us to mention The Mist?
It's very similar, right? Although, I guess the ending of this movie is more like the ending to the story, The Mist, not the movie.
Yes, exactly.
I guess we're not killing everyone in this car, are we?
Well, I mean, as you said, ambiguous.
But Boyle thought that the story was more of a mood piece rather than something narratively driven. So he thought that Hitchcock would be able to have like a lot of freedom to do whatever he wanted in terms of adapting the story.
Sure, yeah.
The main issue, though, was the birds themselves, as he knew that they were faced with superimposing living, moving things around the characters, but more on that in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, Hitchcock initially purchased the rights for The Birds for his television series, and...
Oh, okay.
I know. I've never actually seen an episode of the Alfred Hitchcock Hour, but apparently, this is a funny, anecdote, but that was what was on TV when I was being born, and so my parents always say that that's why I like horror movies, because Alfred Hitchcock was playing while my mom was pushing me out.
I gotta love that story.
But after he read of real bird attacks taking place across the country, he felt that the story had cinematic potential. So he brings in Evan Hunter to adapt the story for the screen in the late summer of 1961. And this is another one of the situations where it's like, well, Evan Hunter doesn't really have many credits to his name outside of The Birds. So what made him pick him? And it was because Hunter had adapted another short story, Appointment at 11, for one of the half-hour segments on the Alfred Hitchcock show.
Okay, so he was happy with this other body of work, well, this other example of work, and said, you should definitely come and do this movie.
Yes, but again, when it comes to the script, story really seemed like the furthest thing from Hitchcock's mind. As long as it was, working fine, that's all he cared about.
String together a bunch of attack sequences, and I need to now go focus on the birds.
Now, Hunter read the short story and was like, wow, not much here to work with. But he'd give his right arm to work with Hitchcock, directly with Hitchcock, not just for his show. And
right.
So he spoke to Hitchcock on the phone. Hitchcock said, well, we're throwing everything out except the title and the notion of birds attacking humans. And Hunter was like, all right, well, let's go for it.
Okay.
The actual screenwriting began, though, in October of 1961. Hunter moved his family out to the coast, wrote the script in about 10 weeks without any supervision from Hitchcock. And
oh my God, 10 weeks to write a screenplay.
I know, right? For one, I mean, I was going to say it's not that complicated, but there actually are a lot of things going on in this town.
Yeah. I mean, also, we understand that working with Hitch is going to be working with a perfectionist, and your first draft is not going to be your last draft.
Exactly. But funnily enough, Hitchcock only asked for one minor change after the script was handed in shortly before Christmas 1961. Basically, he said, I don't want to give an explanation for the birds, but I do think it'd be cool if we had a scene where people were speculating about why the birds were doing this. So the only scene that was added was that scene in the diner restaurant.
Which I do think is an important scene, so it's a good call.
Yeah, I love that scene. I love a lot of this movie, actually. This is a 5-star film for me.
Yeah, I think I gave it like 4.5, but I could be persuaded.
Yeah. But one thing they were trying to do was figure out when the turn into horror was going to happen, knowing full well that audiences weren't going to wait around for 2 hours for a bird attack in a movie called The Birds.
Yeah, kind of like waiting for a vampire attack in a movie called Abigail that marketed itself as a vampire movie.
There you go. Although, I mean, again, that's not called Abigail the Vampire. This is like, it's the birds.
Maybe the birds are docile. Maybe it's about the lovebirds in the cage.
Right? The ones that never go crazy in this movie.
I love that detail.
Yeah. But so one thing they did, though, was very carefully measure out the length of time between bird attacks. So, with the first one being the goal hitting Melanie. But they were like, okay,
right.
Once it's this amount of time long, we need to have something happen with the birds. Not the full-fledged attack, but something to be like, oh, right, yeah, there's going to be an attack of birds in this movie.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
So back to the birds. Okay. The birds, the characters, not the birds, the movie.
Please elaborate every single time.
Hitchcock was actually initially sold on the idea of using artificial birds, mechanical replicas with motorized wings, and more than $200,000 was reportedly spent building and testing the models, with only a handful ever making it into the film, because when they tested them, they were like, oh, they look really fake.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen an electronic bird in an old movie, and they are often not very convincing.
Not completely. And in those days, what they would do was they would use blue screens. And, this is a process that had essentially been perfected in 1958. So just, 5 years before this movie actually comes out. But in those days, the blue screen very often had a disturbing fringing on the traveling matte work, especially if the two matrices, like the foreground and the background image, were not exactly aligned. So often what would happen is you'd see like the blue outline around people.
Yeah.
And these are people that also weren't moving. And so we have to do this with birds with constantly flapping wings.
Yeah. That's not just like people walking or something. That's much harder to execute.
So Boyle knew that if they were going to shoot these birds with fast moving wings, that it would just be a messy blur. And also, especially, it was worse with hair. So if you had a head of hair, you would see it wasn't even a blue outline. It was like there were shots of blue within the wisps of your hair.
And here's the thing. Everybody's getting attacked in their hair, on their heads in this movie.
Yeah. So I'm going to get technical with you for a second, Joe. And I did my best to explain this, but it works better if you can see the comparisons about what I'm talking about. But they are on this All About the Birds featurette on the Blu-ray and the 4K. So let's go.
All right.
The Birds uses something called sodium vapor process, which was a method of combining foregrounds and backgrounds that were photographed at different times on an optical printer. So basically, the background, you have to create a matte or a drawing with the silhouette of whatever the foreground is going to be. So let's use the example of Tippi Hedren on the rowboat. We have the matte painting on the back of the town and the water and things like that, but then you have an exact outline of Tippi Hedren of where that you're going to put the other image that's being filmed of her in the foreground.
Right.
Now, the issue here, though, is of course you have to make it not have a blue screen effect. And so in the sodium process, the background, the matte painting, was illuminated by a yellow sodium light. The actors in the foreground were illuminated by a white light. And then they had these two films that they put in a special camera, an old Technicolor camera. And one film in this camera was sensitive only to the sodium light on the backing, whereas the second film was sensitive to only the white light falling on the actors. So, as a result, there was absolutely no contamination of the foreground actors by the lighting from the background.
Smart. Okay.
I mean, watching this, I was like, holy shit, the work that went into this is mind-boggling.
It sounds tantamount to the workload associated with things like animation.
Absolutely. The sodium system, though, like because there was no light from the backing on the actors at any time, it could produce a higher quality composite that did not exhibit the sort of blue flare and blue halos that was sometimes seen on those blue screen composites of the day.
Amazing. So we have solved the problem.
Yes, but funnily enough, it was Disney who had brought the sodium process to a high level of perfection. So Hitchcock goes to Iwerks. UB is the first name, Iwerks. Right. One of the guys who helped create Mickey Mouse and was the head of Disney's Special Processes Department. So they hire this guy as a consultant on the birds. He, of course, has to go to Disney and be like, hey, can I do this? And they're like, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Have to get permission from Walt. Hey, can I take a little bit of a side job?
Mm-hmm. Meetings between Hitchcock and Iwerks occurred on an almost daily basis during the pre-production period. And as it was outlined, all special effects and combination printing were to be executed under Iwerks' supervision, with special design work and all of the first-generation optical printing being his prime responsibilities. And then because they had kind of perfected this process, they rented out the material from Disney.
Okay, so Disney made money off of this, is what you're saying.
Basically, yeah. Although it's funny, because you would think a movie called The Birds could also be a cute Disney animated film.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I did see a bunch of very funny memes that was like, oh, this is the original Angry Birds.
They are
not a Disney title, but you still get it.
I get it. It is an animated cartoon film.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, though, this was all going to be very technically exhausting. So Hitchcock, like always, storyboarded the entire film in advance.
Sure.
With artist Harold Michelson. And so during pre-production, Hitchcock went with the crew and captured tons of footage of birds flying around, which would, of course, be used in these composite shots in the film.
Nice. Okay.
I will say, too, like, it's wild. Like, you can see... I'll use like the phone booth as an example, but like on a shot-to-shot basis, it's either, oh, that's a painting in the background of Tippi Hedren. Oh, that's the sound stage on the background of Tippi Hedren. Oh, that's an actual like on-location shooting behind the background of Tippi Hedren. And it changes like on shot-to-shot in that sequence.
Wow. Okay.
And fun fact, also, the final shot of this film is apparently the hardest one of the film to do, even though there's no moving birds in it, because it uses 32 pieces of film to make one shot.
Holy shit balls. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And again, that's because we're combining on location, the bird stuff, the bat painting in the background, like all this stuff. And we talked about this a little bit in Rebecca, where it's, and obviously this is coming like, 23 years after Rebecca. And there was a shot in that movie where they're in the mansion, and we were shocked because it was like, oh, the top above the chandelier was a matte painting, and then they spliced that over the actual set. So like one shot was top half matte painting, bottom half set. And we're doing a lot of that in The Birds.
Okay. God, I'm exhausted just hearing you tell me about this.
I know. I was exhausted watching and taking notes on it. I was like, I hope I understand this, but we'll see.
No, you're doing great.
Now, when it comes to casting, Hitchcock did not want movie stars in The Birds because, as I said, the birds themselves were the stars. So,
God, Hitch, stop it.
When it came to casting as leading lady, he looked at Tippi Hedren, which this is her film debut.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Tippi Hedren, of course, everyone, is the mother of Melanie Griffith.
Right.
Yeah. Hedren had been modeling in New York for about 11 years, and by that point, her career was waning, but she was making a good living doing commercials, and one of those commercials ran on the Today Show every morning for about a month. It was for some, like, diet program or something.
Wait. You introduced this by saying that some critics accused her of being too commercial? Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Like she was literally in commercials?
Yep. She was a model turned commercial actress turned film actress.
Jesus Christ, the snobber. This is funny, right? I love doing the old movies because we hear shit like this and we think, oh, okay, so all of the bullshit that we see in film criticism circles, in media coverage and so on, not a new thing. We've been like this for fucking ever.
That's the thing. I was, again, because like, some of this stuff, really, again, that Cinefantastique article where you're kind of like, wow, even entertainment reporting at the time is very similar to how we do it today. Like, we're always looking for that, like, drama angle. And history repeats itself. I will just say that.
Truly, yes. So even if we're in the darkest timeline right now, or at least the darkest part of the timeline, things will get better.
Yeah. So a producer who was watching the Today Show saw this commercial and tracked her down. And on Friday the 13th of October, 1961. So this is, again, before the script is done. Like, this is like when Hunter is just now starting to work on the script for this movie. Bay.
Sure, but you just have to say, hey, we're thinking about you for an Alfred Hitchcock film.
Well, and they wouldn't tell her that, though. They said, hey, we want you to come meet an executive at Universal Studios. And she goes, and they're like, okay, cool. Why don't you leave, like, your headshot, your portfolio, all this stuff over here? And she goes, well, that's fine, but I need to come back on Monday to pick them up because, we don't have digital copies of these things anymore.
Sure. Yeah, like I'm carrying the one around and I'm a working commercial actress.
Mm-hmm. So she comes to them on Monday to pick them up, and she was introduced to a bunch of other executives. And even throughout all of this, they still would not tell her who the director was.
My God, the secrecy.
So later that day, I'm guessing towards 5 o'clock on this Monday, she goes to meet with an agent named Mr. Herman Sintra, who told her, finally, that Alfred Hitchcock wanted to sign her on a contract as long as she'd agree to the terms. And they didn't really talk about the terms, but she just said, she agreed to them. So there.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
She went to go meet with Hitchcock, and they talked about everything but movies. They didn't talk about the birds. He didn't say what she was going to be doing. I think he just wanted to get a feel for her to make sure she was probably competent.
Sure, and also fuckable, because, of course, that was also part of how he made his decisions.
Yes, and this is now, and at this point, she thought, I'm just going to be doing, a weekly thing on his television show. Maybe I'll be doing that.
Yeah, of course.
So then they made her screen test with scenes from Rebecca, Notorious, and To Catch a Thief. 3 entirely different women across this. And because, again, she wasn't a trained actress. She had done commercials, but not any actual scripted work.
Yeah, can you lead a film?
Yes, and so Hitchcock, on top of being her director, was also her acting coach during this and, of course, the course of the film. So
starting to verge on creepy.
Yes, so she would go over to his house where he and his wife Alma, who, of course, Alma, big contributor to a lot of Hitchcock's films.
Alma!
Yes, they would go over the scenes with her, and this screen test, by the way, took 3 days and cost $25,000 because it was also in color.
Jesus Christ. We are throwing money around on this production.
Well, and I was like, why do you have to have it be in color? Can't you just do it in black and white? But I guess if the movie's not in black and white, then you need the screen test to be in color too, so you can see how she looks in color.
Yes, yeah, ooh, how does that blonde hair look? Ooh, how does that green suit look? I mean, yes, obviously very important, but also...
I know. In 1962 or 63, too. That's quadruple that for inflation.
Ooh, you keep talking. I'll look it up.
Yeah. So basically, after all this was done, Alma and Alfred invited Hedren to dinner, and Hitch placed a very beautifully wrapped package from Gump's in San Francisco. This is apparently Hitchcock's favorite tchotchke place, or I guess high-end tchotchke place in San Francisco, which does still exist. I looked this up.
Oh, fun.
But in this box was a beautiful gold pen of 3 birds in flight, and Hitch said, we want you to play Melanie and the Birds, and she began to cry, and it was a really good dinner, and she got the job.
And she's like, I don't know what that means, but yay, I accept.
Yes. So The Birds was filmed from March to July of 1962, and the lengthy shooting schedule was especially grueling for Hedren, who, and we'll talk about the scene-specific things, which really is that scene in the attic at the end of the film, but she was required to be in almost every single scene of this film, which is a daunting task, especially when you're working with a perfectionist like Hitchcock.
Yes.
During the 6 months of principal photography, 2 months on location around Bodega Bay, which is a real place, those were in March, and then, of course, April of 1962, followed by 4 months of shooting at the studio. Wow. During all of this, Hedren was given only 1 afternoon off, which she used to go to the dentist.
I was going to say, please say the spa.
No, right? No, not the case. But again, it's this is your first film. You're working for Alfred Hitchcock. I'm sure you're I'm doing whatever the fuck he's telling me to do.
Yeah, I will do anything as long, as hard as you ask. I will bleed for this production.
Which she did. Now, The Birds, again, set in this very real town of Bodega Bay, but Hitchcock hated filming on location. Just hated it because apparently
he can't control things, right?
Exactly. You don't get the right lighting. There's too much noise. You have to come in and redub the actors. He just viewed it as a colossal waste of time. Even though I'm well, I guess in some ways though you save time by shooting on location, but then in other areas you lose time by shooting on location.
Yeah, I think it's that unpredictability. It just gives people a lot of stress.
Right. And so if he ever could get away without location shooting, he would. But adding to those regular issues of on-location shooting, the weather in Bodega Bay was unpredictable, and the town itself was relatively sparse. So the funny thing is, though, it was almost always very sunny in Bodega Bay, and they didn't want that. They wanted it to be a little bit, gloomy, because, again, this is the rare horror film that primarily takes place during the daytime.
Yeah.
But still, the location was far from the most difficult part of the shoot, as it was, of course, working with the actual birds. So, a man by the name of Ray Berwick, a former writer for the Lassie TV series, but also the bird trainer for the 1962 film Birdman of Alcatraz, was the bird handler for this film. And all told, he spent about 4 months in pre-production, followed by 4 additional months of on-the-set training from March through June of 1962.
Okay. Is this after they had scrapped all of those mechanical birds, or were they doing them kind of simultaneously?
Yeah, after. I think they scrapped the mechanical birds like by October of
early.
1961. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hitchcock arranged for Berwick to have a set minimum of 3 weeks before shooting began to rehearse the birds and get them conditioned to the enclosed environment and bright lights of the sound stages. So during this time, extras were even brought in to simulate the movements of the actors so they could get used to the blocking that they would be getting when the actual actors came in.
Right, we're training animals.
Lunches for the birds, who were housed in more than 40 large pens on the Universal lot, cost an estimated $1,000.
Jeez.
That is the cost covering 100 pounds of birdseed and 200 pounds of shrimp, anchovies, and ground meat, the latter of which was smeared on the hands of actors to entice birds to come at them, and occasionally put on the lens of the camera or behind the camera or on top of the camera to get them to fly towards the lens.
Makes sense, but also no thank you.
Now, bear in mind, though, so again, they're filming, starting in May of 62. At this point, the film is planning for a Thanksgiving 1962 release date, which I was like, why Thanksgiving? But I was like, maybe it's like the birds, like Turkey Bird.
Either that or, I don't know. We've talked about when the summer box office season begins. I don't know how long the idea of the holiday movie season has been in place, but really the start of that big box office bonanza, as people have a lot more free time, they're interested in going to the movies as a family and so on. It typically begins at Thanksgiving. So if you've got a big title, that's usually when you would release it.
Well, because summer movie season didn't exist yet. That would become a thing with Jaws, another creature feature. But anyway, so this release date was eventually changed when they tried to film the scene where the birds come down the chimney. And
oh god,
during this scene, the birds wouldn't move. That is why that scene entirely is actually not filmed with any birds. It is all the effects of the composite imaging, which that is the one scene where I think you can tell the most that the birds are not in the room with these people. But I did get a big laugh specifically watching Rod Taylor flail his arms around to absolutely nothing.
But it sounds funny.
But also, these birds, these sparrows, were infested with lice. And before long, everyone was contaminated by the parasitic insects. And birds flew up into the rafters on the set. They couldn't be coaxed down or caught. And so this relatively short sequence took weeks to realize. And so there was little doubt that of the 412 planned optical effect shots, they weren't going to make that Thanksgiving release date.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so we're going to need a little more time to shoot this movie.
Exactly. And if this is anyone other than Hitchcock, I'm sure they would have been like, fucking deal with it, y'all. Get it done.
Cut down the number of bird sequences, cut out the number of birds, make it happen. Oh, Hitchcock? Never mind. Yeah. All is forgiven.
So it was pushed back to kind of late spring of 1963, but then moved up to March of 1963 because they wanted to meet, they meaning the studio, wanted to meet the April 1st tax deadline date, which is the time by which a film negative must be transported out of state or face taxation.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I guess money does talk. We're losing money a lot on this, so.
And I'll go over more of the scene-specific effects of the birds during the plot summary, Joe. But of course, we are dealing with real live animals here. And so the crew was constantly worried about the SPCA, the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. And an aviary was built onto the set for any injured birds. The script girl would take care of them. That was her main priority. Similarly, Paul Ridge, a representative from the American Humane Association, was always on the set to see that the birds had enough air and water and didn't work themselves into a heart attack. But
sure. Yeah.
But bear in mind, though, we're dealing with thousands of birds. So many birds. When it comes to the score, you'll notice that Hitchcock's go-to composer Bernard Herrmann did not do the score for this movie, although he is credited as a consultant.
Yes, I did see his name in the credits.
That is because there's not a score in this movie.
Okay. I was thinking about this earlier today because you know me, I'm terrible with scores unless they're very, very bombastic and in your face. And I was racking my brains thinking, did you miss the score in this movie?
No.
And the answer is no.
No? Which is weird. Like, you know, I could probably count on one I can probably count on one hand the films that I've seen that don't use a score at all. Maybe two hands, actually. But, like, it's a really bold risk, though, especially in genre filmmaking.
Oh, yeah. You need the music to cue the audience how to feel. It's part of the scare.
Now, the reason we're not... Because we were going to use Bernard Herrmann to score this movie, but in April of 1962, so I think they're in the middle of filming still, a German man by the name of Remy Gassman messaged Alfred Hitchcock, and by message I mean wrote him a letter, or sent him a telegram.
Oh, not like instant messenger or something?
Yeah, exactly. But he told Hitchcock about a device he had invented called the Studio Trautonium, and this device was basically the forerunner for many modern keyboards, as it was able to take commonplace ordinary sounds, and by playing the keyboard, you could manipulate those sounds. Now, Hitchcock really liked the idea, but brought Bernard Herrmann over to see this thing, this, you know, prototype for a keyboard. Mm-hmm. And Herrmann was like, I actually love this, which is why he's like, yeah, by all means, like, use this, because really the sounds we're getting with this keyboard are the bird sounds.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Mm-hmm. I also thought that you were going to say Bernard Herrmann took one look at this and said, am I being replaced by a keyboard, and walked off.
No, he actually loved the idea. And it was funny because I did not a full rabbit hole into Hitchcock and stuff, but Bernard Herrmann was fired off of Torn Curtain because he wouldn't deliver the type of music the studio and Hitchcock was wanting. So I think the last film he works on with Hitchcock is Marnie, the year after this.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So The Birds had its world premiere on March 28th, 1963 at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City before being screened out of competition at the Cannes Film Festival in May of that same year. When it originally came out, it did get mixed reviews from critics, with some saying it was shock for shock's sake, or saying it had a sci-fi exploitation feel, albeit with a touch of production gloss. To which I say, don't we say that nowadays?
A, yes, and B, what the fuck are you talking about?
He's saying you're doing a schlocky monster movie, but because you're Alfred Hitchcock, you're giving it this. It's kind of what people say about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake.
Right.
That studio sheen that doesn't belong in my schlock B movies.
Okay, I guess here's the thing. I don't disagree with the sentiment. I just don't see a problem.
Yeah.
Like, there's no question, there's no problem in that statement.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing for me. That's not a critique.
I'm sorry, you're just speaking my love language right now.
Yeah. Now, obviously, this is now considered one of Hitchcock's best, or at least most memorable films. So we are looking at a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Letterboxd users have given this a 3.7 out of 5, or a 7.4 out of 10. I know. I was a little shocked by that too, but I do wonder if it's again, this is a 2-hour movie, and it does take a while to get to these birds.
Okay, it's that. And the other thing, when I was doing research, so obviously I was doing, queer, The Birds,
right.
Lesbian, The Birds, found a bunch of stuff. We'll get to that later. Mm-hmm. But a number of the more contemporary reflections on the film, and I think this could be captured in Letterboxd, which, as we know, is typically a little bit more contemporary oriented. Like, it's a lot of people discovering films for the first time, logging the new viewers. A lot of people find this movie very campy.
Okay, but again, I'm not disagreeing. I like that aspect of it.
No, but I think for some people, they go in thinking, oh, it's Hitchcock's scary movie about bird attacks. And then they're laughing during the attack sequences. And they say, well, that movie wasn't very good.
Oh, I don't...
I'm not suggesting you feel this way. I'm suggesting
I know.
Other people. And then it gets marked lower, right?
We'll have to talk about it. Yeah, we'll go through this plot, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. And maybe it's because I hadn't seen this film as an adult ever. But like I was just kind of shocked at how much fun I was having with this movie. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and here's the thing. I can definitely pinpoint to a couple of moments where I think people would laugh. If you showed this to an unassuming crowd who had never heard of the film nowadays, if they just went in kind of cold and said, okay, I know it's a horror movie about bird attacks, I think a couple of moments people might laugh at it. So I can understand it. I just personally don't feel that way.
Well, and I will say, so I did watch my 4K disc of this, and I think...
Okay, humble brag.
No. I have a point, though. Like, I think the effects in this movie are really good, especially for the time. The problem is, though, especially in like 4K stuff, the more high definition we get, the worse these effects age.
Yeah, that's always the case, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, right? Like, you can tell, as you said, in certain sequences, okay, the actors are not actually interacting with the birds. And sometimes they absolutely are, and you can tell then as well. But yeah, every time we make advances in technology and the picture gets a little crisper and we can see, you know, oh, this actor had acne and we can see it under the makeup and that kind of stuff. It also applies to things like more rudimentary special effects from older films.
And I guess, though, because I rewatched this before going through like my deep dive into the production, like all the making of stuff. And even though there were scenes, again, that chimney scene is the biggest offender for me, where I was like, oh, wow, that's clearly fake. I was still like really marveling, though, at how it was done.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. But, okay. Well, what happens in this movie, Joe?
Okay, so couple of things. First, circling back around that $25,000 screen test. Do you want to take a guess as to how much it is?
I'm going to guess $84,000.
Oh my God, you're so wrong.
Oh no, how much is it?
$263,000.
Holy, that's over $250,000 for a screen test.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, okay.
Yeah. And the other piece is I'm going to let you know my reference for the film. So I'm going to be crediting Laura Ma's piece called Loving Annie Hayworth from It Came From the Closet, which I also used when we talked about Jaws.
Man, okay. Like, Annie Hayworth is one of the best characters in this movie.
MVP.
And even as a child, I was so gutted when she dies. Off screen, too.
Yeah, of course. This is why we had to kill her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But also because lesbian.
Well, and she's the jealous girlfriend, ex-girlfriend.
Yes. Okay, so this movie begins with credits, but of course the credits are constantly being interrupted by birds.
I love these opening credits.
Sure.
So I'm glad that you said you were glad I brought up Jaws, and I'm glad you acknowledged that, because also in these featurettes, like Steven Spielberg, like, they talk about how Steven Spielberg like really took a lot of inspiration from this movie for Jaws, even putting scenes from this and Jaws side by side to be like, oh wow, they're structured the same, the actors are blocking the same, like it's really interesting. But I would argue it goes so far as to even the Universal logo at the top of the film. If you remember when we did Jaws, I was like, oh, I really love the sound of just the ocean that plays over the Universal logo before we get to like the donut. And in this one, we have the sound of just birds over the Universal logo before we get into the flappy of the credits.
Yeah, it's like before we started to tweak the opening logo, right? Like, I think we recently talked about, I think for our Conjuring 2 audio commentary, you were like, oh, I love when they tweak the WB logo or whatever to match the mood or whatever, the visuals of the film. And it feels like this is a rudimentary version of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just love it so much. And I will say also, the movie doesn't offer title cards to tell you what day is what, but I did mark them in my notes because this all takes place over a long weekend.
Yeah, I figured as much because we really only talk about staying over at Annie's once, and then we have to stay an extra day. So yeah, it's like, what, 3 days, 2 nights?
It's Friday through Monday.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So our tale begins in San Francisco. Gay.
Yeah, was it gay back then? Yeah, it was.
It's always gay, baby. Sure. Okay, so we open in San Francisco, and we are introduced to Melanie Daniels, who's, of course, played by Tippi Hedren, as she pauses outside to regard a flock of birds in the sky.
Which, ominous, but, you know, that's also just Hitchcock being like, here's your birds.
You fucking want it? Alma! They wanted the birds. I gave them that in the first sequence.
I can't do the Alfred.
I've worked on it today. I don't think it's quite right. But you know what? Neither is the Stephen King impersonation.
It's okay. So. Well, I mean, what does Stephen King really sound like? I mean, you know.
Not the way I do it. Shocker.
Nevertheless, she walks into this pet shop, and of course, who's walking out but Hitchcock himself? So this is cameo. Get out of the way.
Get out of the way early. Yeah. I will say, I didn't have a ton of time to look into this because I was trying to focus on the queer reading specifically, but I would be so curious to know if people have stumbled across a different reading about lines of miscommunication in this movie, because even in this first scene where she goes into the pet shop, she's talking to this lady about how she wants the myna bird. It's not ready. Come back. No, I won't. You can deliver it. Like, establishing she's a total bitch. Nope. You have to hold on.
Okay.
we have so many sequences where people either talk over one another or have to repeat themselves, or there's just something about people not quite getting it right when they have conversations in this movie, and I found it fascinating. So in this scene specifically, she's trying to talk to this woman, and you can barely hear the dialogue because the birds are so loud.
Yeah, 100%. And I had really kind of forgotten how much agency Melanie Daniels has as a character. Like, she's kind of like the Paris Hilton of 1963 in this movie, where she's like, oh, her daddy like runs a newspaper, and she's like, you know, she's maybe misunderstood, but she gets in a lot of trouble. But I love how much of a bitch she is. Like, you better deliver those birds. I came here, you don't have them, you better deliver it. And by the time we get to the end, the woman's like, again, like, oh, well, if you come back, deliver the goddamn birds.
Here's the thing, you're making her sound very bitchy, and I would say she's more curt. She expects that things are ready because she is paying for them, and she wants a certain level of service or quality of service even.
Let me phrase it this way. She does not ask her to deliver these birds. She tells her in a very nice way, like, oh, well, I think you better deliver the birds. And even at the end, no, you better deliver them. Like, that's how. But I was like, good for you, bitch.
There will be no compromise. What I say goes.
But I think, though, to touch on your kind of miscommunication here, that to me is also a holdover of the screwball comedy, you know, where we're doing a lot of. And so for the opening scene, Hitchcock and screenwriter Hunt were trying to find a hook or a way into the movie. Because again, remember, they were just like, we need to have birds. Like, they didn't even have characters drawn by this point. Who was going to be like, what? So Hunt suggested a screwball comedy. So doing a couple who had a meet cute, a phrase he actually uses, by the way.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And go from there into comedy until it turns to terror. And they tried to find characters who were mismatched and would strike a comic spark. So they had the madcap society woman first. They were, okay, we know that's going to be a kind of archetype for this main character.
Right.
So who's the best foil for that? A lawyer.
A straight-laced person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so enter Mitch Brenner, played by Rod Taylor, Australian, but you wouldn't really know it, I don't think.
Oh, not at all. Also really wild because he does not speak with an accent whenever he's doing his interviews in the year 2000.
Okay. I mean, people do lose accents if you spend enough time in other countries, so maybe that's what happens. Anyway, so yes, he is a lawyer. He's looking for a pair of friendly but not overly enthusiastic or obvious, affectionate lovebirds because he doesn't want them to be too showboaty because he is giving them as a gift to his 11-year-old sister.
Which, back then, like 20 years ago when I first saw this movie, and even today, I'm kind of like, this is a weird age gap between these siblings.
It is truly, yeah. It's like, did something happen between Jessica Tandy and her husband, who is now dead? But like, did they take a breather for about 15 years?
I mean, because by this timeline, because just the husband died 4 years ago, so that's when Kathy would have been 7 years old. But still, I'm like, I mean, Jessica Tandy was, well, it would have been a geriatric pregnancy because she would have been in her 40s having this kid.
I mean, she looks good in this movie, but yeah, she is not a spring chicken.
No. No chickens in this movie. Oh, sorry. We talk about chickens.
We talk about them. We never see it. Which feels...
Okay.
I would have liked to have seen the rabid chickens. Just saying.
The second we mention those chickens in this movie, and given that the way that Lydia is characterized as kind of like a bitch, I was like... And I knew she didn't die. I remember she didn't die, but I was like, it's a real missed opportunity not to have the chickens kill her.
Or even just attack her.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm thinking Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz when she falls into that pig pen.
Okay.
I don't know.
I firmly had a memory that Lydia dies in this movie, so it was a surprise when she made it all the way to the end.
Yeah, I mean, the only person we kill is the closeted lesbian.
Well, yes. Okay, so as you mentioned, meet cute between Melanie and Mitch. She plays shopkeep. She's terrible at this ruse. She has no valuable information to share when he's asking her about birds. And it becomes even more amusing when you realize he knew who she was the whole fucking time.
This is, again, I started this.
It's great.
I remember being, oh God, it's so boring. They just sit around and talk in this fucking bird shop before they have to go to this town.
Oh God, you were such a brat.
I was 9 or 10. What am I going to do? But I was cackling during this entire scene. I was like, this is really funny.
Yeah, no, it's great. It actually, not a one-to-one comparison, but this does feel like an early prototype for something like this year's Hard Eyes, right?
Oh, yeah, a little bit. True. Yeah.
Which, of course, is also doing the exact same thing. We're mixing rom-com with a different kind of subgenre from horror.
So. Yeah, I would argue, though, that film is at least blending the two genres, whereas this film it's divided.
It starts and then turns into.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so eventually he does reveal that he knows exactly who she is, and he knows her from her court appearance for some kind of practical joke. And I like that the movie teases this and then doesn't reveal the details until later.
Yeah, because it's a practical joke that basically almost but didn't get someone injured.
Yeah. There's a level to her pranks. You can tell that she definitely takes things too far.
I mean, what she does in this movie, I would argue, is taking things too far.
It is way too much. My notes, very profane, but I was just like, girl, you do not know this individual, and you're going, this is max. It's too much.
It's daddy's... She's bored. She has nothing else to do. Nothing better to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, philanthropy can only get you so far. Okay, so when she is basically rebuffed by this guy, he calls her out and she is not happy about it. So she sneaks down, she takes down his license plate, she calls in a favor from Daddy's newspaper so that she can figure out who he is, and then she orders this set of lovebirds before leaving the store.
Yep, and that concludes Friday.
Yes. Okay. So the next day, we have a fur-clad Melanie carrying these birds to Mitch's door because apparently she also found out where he lives.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming the car is registered to an address.
I mean, sure. It's just like, it's one thing to get somebody's name. It's a whole other thing to find out where they live and then go to their fucking door.
Well, maybe in this point, I mean, I guess if you have his name, phone books were, the thing you would use.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
So she goes to leave the birds at the door, but she's informed by Mitch's neighbor, who is played by Richard Deacon, that Mitch spends every weekend in Bodega Bay, which is 60 miles away. Cut to her and the birds driving along the coast.
I wrote in my notes, so this bitch has to go hand deliver these birds. Karma. But
whereas mine just says, this bitch is persistent.
I mean, driving, he says, it's 60 miles up the coast. She's like, 60 miles. That's kind of annoying. Well, better go.
Here's the funny thing. He gave her two different routes, and she chose the longer one. So she fully was just like, you know what? Let's make a weekend of it. Let me just drive up the coast with my hair down.
Well, that's the thing, though. She chose at least the scenic route that is gorgeous to look at.
Oh, yes. I know what you did last summer. Wishes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so she arrives in Bodega Bay. She goes to chat with the postal clerk, who is played by John McGovern, asking him for directions to Mitch's house. And this is a lot of back and forth. Who are you? What do you want? Why do you want to not go to the front of the house? Why do you want to go to the secret rear entrance and so on?
It's a surprise. She's actually not a very good liar, which I find very charming.
Yes, but it continues this idea of, sort of miscommunication. People just are not gelling. Something almost feels more realistic about it because, if you just tried to ask a bunch of these questions, people would either get suspicious or they would ask you a bunch of follow-up questions and so on. But I like that the movie has this weird realistic grounded element to a lot of the conversation.
It does, but then again, maybe it's because I'm just lazy, but he's like, oh well, I mean, I guess you could just take a boat and boat over to the house and they won't see you coming up the road. And she's like, yep, I'm gonna do that. And I was like, you are driving 60 miles up the state to this place and you're renting a boat.
Yes. Yeah, and you're required to talk to a bunch of different people. She stops to get a fucking card. The next detour is that she realizes she needs the name of the sister, and this dumbass shopkeep can't remember if it's Alice or Lois, but he doesn't sound confident, so who can actually tell me this little girl's name? Oh, well, you gotta go up to the school teacher's house. It's up the road.
I know, I was like, there are so many steps involved to get this woman from point A to point B. It is ridiculous. But again, really, every time she had a new obstacle hit her way, I just laughed.
For sure. Yeah, and she handles it like it's water off a duck's back.
Yeah, she didn't give a shit. Which honestly, good for her.
Also, I'm loving that listeners are going to laugh so hard, and you will probably never realize that I'm just making a lot of bird references
jokes
throughout this.
Yeah, now I got it.
Okay, so enter the star of this movie. We show up at the home of one Annie Hayworth, who is played by Suzanne Pleshette. and the best character in the film has entered the screen.
Man, and Suzanne Pleshette wouldn't have been really a household name by this point because
I don't know who she is.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, so I knew her because she plays Karen's mom on Will and Grace.
Okay.
But she's world famous for playing Bob Newhart's wife on his first sitcom, The Bob Newhart Show.
Okay. Yeah. She has star power, like charisma for days in this movie.
Do you not, like, I don't know if you ever, like, looked at, like, you know, list of, like, the best series finales ever, but, like, Bob Newhart had a show that ran from 72 to 78. That was the one with Suzanne Pleshette. And then he had Newhart that ran from, like, 82 to 90 or something like that.
That's the more famous one, right?
That's the more famous one, but the series finale of that one is kind of iconic because it ends with his character in that sitcom, like, waking up in bed next to Suzanne Pleshette from his wife from his first sitcom saying, oh, I had a dream I was doing this. So the whole second sitcom was a dream.
My God, we love to do that. It's like the fucking Saint Elsewhere finale, which reveals the entire series is inside a goddamn snow globe.
Exactly. Yeah. When I was a teenager, I went through all these like famous, like, any kind of like really famous like episodes of television, and the Newhart finale always came up every single time.
Interesting. I mean, that is a big, bold swing. Yeah.
But yeah, Suzanne Pleshette, rest in peace.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, let's talk about Annie. So basically, we're only here to get Kathy's name. That's the name of the younger sister. But because we're here, and obviously we will come to learn that Annie knows exactly who Melanie is asking about, and she wants to know the reason why. So Annie casually also inquires if Melanie is Mitch's girlfriend and if she's planning on staying long. You obviously are intended to read this after the fact as, oh, well, she and Mitch used to be something, so she's the jealous girlfriend. But there's so much more to this. Like, I don't know how you see the interactions between these two characters and not read it as flirting.
And they don't really have a ton of scenes together in this movie.
They've got 3.
Yeah, but even then, like, you want more scenes of them together because, like, sure, Annie is a Spitfire.
Dynamite.
I love her.
Yeah.
But again, like, that you want that Spitfire to match Melanie's Spitfire because they're both, I mean, clearly Mitch has a type.
Mitch is boring.
Yes, I think
he's boring, but he does have a type. Yes,
but it's because he's stuck under his mother's thumb. He's a mama's boy who really cares about his sister, which I guess maybe that's the endearing part about him. But yes, as to why these wonderful, powerful women with agency are really like falling head over heels for this guy,
well, I don't buy it personally. Like, I don't think the chemistry is super great between Mitch and either woman. I mean, he barely shares a scene with Annie, but there are sparks of electricity between Annie and Melanie.
I gotta say though, like I thought Rod Taylor was like not much older than Tippi Hedren, but like he looks
older.
They were both the same age. They were both born in 1930. They were like 32 filming this movie, and he looks in his 40s.
That hard drinking Australian life, I guess.
I guess so. but yeah, and Suzanne Pleshette was actually 7 years younger than both of them. So she was like in her early 20s filming this, or mid 20s.
Yeah, she does look not fresher, but she's also looser, right? You know, I joked that Melanie drives down the coast with her hair down. Her hair is actually never down. It's always up. And even though I would agree with you that she does have this kind of classic Paris Hilton-esque vibe where she's a bit of a party girl, but also kind of trying to button it up a little bit. Her visual aesthetic, like she's wearing this really gorgeous green sort of suit, but it still reads a tiny bit conservative, which is an interesting combination with her more carefree personality.
I wonder if that's something that's more just a part of the times in cinema.
Quite possibly, but I would argue that when you look at Annie, she seems much more loose, much more relaxed. I mean, you could also say it's the difference between living in the big city of San Francisco versus the more chill, relaxed vibe of Bodega Bay, but I just thought it was interesting that Annie wears pants exclusively.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, because I was focused on the fact that she moved there to be near Mitch, even in a non-romantic way, which I find hilarious and not believable.
Well,
but
I mean, my God, don't Felicity your life, folks. Don't ever move somewhere to be romantically attached to someone you're not even romantically attached to.
But either way, she's doing a lot of prodding. She's trying to find information about. But here's the thing, though. So she is definitely the jealous girlfriend, the jealous-ish ex-girlfriend in this movie, but at the same time, I never feel like she's malicious towards Melanie.
No, that's what's interesting. And I think that's why it's so easy to read the queerness. And we keep referring to her as a lesbian. I think it's probably better to say that she is bisexual, as she previously had a relationship with Mitch. She now seems to be interested in this new woman, or at least interested enough to say, oh, so you're going to be sticking around a lot. I find so much of the queerness very, very obvious, even up to the point where Annie leans against the car. Like, Melanie drives a convertible, so it's open to the air, which freaked me out in a later scene because I just thought that is not a roof that will sustain a bird attack.
Yeah.
But Annie is actively like, let me just put my arm, rest my elbow on the passenger side door. And it looks like every greaser 50s movie that you've ever seen where a guy is trying to proposition a girl.
Right. Ooh. See, I was like, I wonder if that was intentional on Hitchcock's part. But again, I feel like with Hitchcock, everything is very intentional. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's very few interviews or acknowledgement of the queerness, but people have always clocked queerness in many, many, many Hitchcock films.
Yeah.
Which is why we're on title number 5. Okay. So Melanie has one final moment of, I'm going to say, reciprocal flirting. So there is this moment where Melanie accuses Annie of being covert, and Annie replies by saying, actually, I'm an open book. And then she glances down at the car seat and says, lovebirds? And you're just like, are you referring to the woman or the birds?
Right.
So Melanie travels back to town because now she has the information she needs so she can address the card to Kathy. And then she and the birds settle into this cute little rowboat that she has rented so that she can sail across the bay.
To which I wrote in my notes in all caps, she fucking boats over to this fucking guy's house.
Yes. Yeah. If this were a romantic comedy, you know, she would probably fall in the water. He would come and have to rescue her or something. But this has the setup potential of something we've seen before.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, if you're listening on the soundtrack, though, you can hear the sounds of gulls as she is boating across.
Well, that's the thing. The gulls are kind of the most dangerous birds of this entire movie.
They're fucking huge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so when she gets close enough, she kills the engine because she does see Mitch outside and she doesn't want to alert him to her presence. So she literally rows herself the rest of the way. She gets out. She sneaks into the house. Trace.
She breaks and enters.
Yes, for this prank, which she has driven 60 miles for, rented a boat for, broken into a house for.
I mean, I was just like, this is hilarious. Like, I don't know how you don't find this amusing.
The audacity of this woman. I mean, she could go to jail for that.
Yes! I mean, her dad would get her out, but still.
Wow, yes. But it would be printed in his rival's paper, as we would find out later. Okay, yes. So she manages to deposit the card, as well as the lovebirds, and sneak out before being spotted because she rows herself back out, starts the motor after hiding from Mitch, but then he spots her. So now we have a meet cute race where he gets in the car and drives around, and she motors across in the rowboat.
This is so good.
It's also very funny.
Not even talking about how she's like the daughter of like a newspaper magnate. I wonder if she's kind of the Patricia Hearst of her generation.
Maybe. Yeah, a little bit of a troublemaker. Yeah. Okay, so she is nearly about to pull in. It seems like we're about to get this romantic encounter, reunion, and then she gets swiped in the head by a gull.
Yes. And again, going into like, you would think, okay, cool, yeah, we just kind of like send like a bird down on her and like, you know, boom, like she gets a loose piece of hair. Because that is one thing that happens with Melanie in this movie is that as she gets more flustered, her hair becomes more undone.
Yes. Yep.
But this is actually her hair. They have the gull, but they had hairsprayed the fuck out of her hair until it was basically a blonde helmet. Okay. Except for the strands of hair that will get knocked over by the gull. But the fake gull that comes down wasn't going to be able to knock her hair forward. So they tied another string under her hair that would then yank it forward when the gull came down.
Ouch, that sounds a little painful.
I mean, I don't think it like, you know, pulled on her hair. It just like it loosed it.
Ah, I see. Okay. So this was Mechanical Bird, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So, yes, she has been struck by this gull. It's very unexpected, and Mitch was there to see it all happen, so he ends up helping her out of the boat. She is bleeding from a head wound at this point, so we walk her dazed and bloody into town to the diner, which is owned by manned by bartender Deke Carter, who was played by Lonnie Chapman, and he and Mitch talk about what happened. So this just gives us a little bit of insight, offers some new characters for us to get acclimatized to in Bodega Bay. And Melanie is looking at her wound in her mirror, and then Mitch kind of takes care of it with some alcohol. And this is continuing to meet cute, ooh, we had a setback, but let's get back to what we were,
Well, and I appreciate that Mitch also like calls her on her bullshit whenever it's happening, which is maybe something that she's not entirely used to.
Yeah, I mean, she still tries to lie her way out of it, at least initially. She says that she knows Annie. She's staying with her for the weekend because they went to high school together.
Yeah, which is obviously a lie. But, like, I like that he calls her on her bullshit, but he's not he's clearly still interested. I do think they have chemistry.
Okay, yeah, okay. I will retract previous statement. I think they have some chemistry. It's just like, when I see them kiss later,
Well, and I think also it's because once we make that shift into horror, I think it's harder to really sell the romance.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely had conversations about people going to Bone Town during scary situations because you realize, oh, if I'm going to die, maybe I want to feel this one more time. This doesn't have that level of passion. It feels almost like, well, we do need to pay this off a little bit because we planted the seed, but then let's have them kiss and that'll be it.
Yeah.
It's fine. So we're talking, we're getting caught up, we're telling lies, we're not getting called out for it, but that's fine. This is when Mitch's mother comes on the scene. So our introduction to Mrs. Lydia Brenner, who was played by Jessica Tandy, and immediately, it's not daggers, but it is, who the fuck is this woman? Yeah. And why are we talking to her?
There is a very clear, Annie has not mentioned the mother yet, right? So, no. Okay, yeah, so we don't really know exactly. But yeah, no, I mean, the way she is dressed, I mean, she might as well be, oh my God, who's the maid from Rebecca? She's Mrs.
Mrs. Danvers.
Yeah, Mrs. Danvers.
Yeah, she looks tightly strung for sure, but you can tell that immediately she's very protective of Mitch. She does not like the fact that Mitch is saying, oh yes, Melanie's going to come for dinner. Oh yes, she's got lovebirds. It's just like, warning sign. Who? What?
Tandy's delivery of, oh, I see, after they confirm it's lovebirds.
I don't like the sounds of you, bitch.
But here's the thing though, she never verges into evil stepmother caricature territory for me. She still feels grounded in reality.
Yeah, there's no outright hostility, and that's the kind of thing you would expect to see in a screwball. Admittedly, a later screwball, the kinds of films that we watched in the 90s and 2000s where you get introduced to somebody and she might as well have horns because she is out to fuck you up.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not this. Okay, but we do have to preserve this lie. So we said that we were staying with Annie for the weekend, so Melanie goes back to Annie's house so that she can rent her room for the night. I did think it was interesting that when she speaks to Annie, she mentioned she tried everywhere else and this was the only place that was available. We never see it, so I don't know if it's a lie, but it sounds like an excuse, doesn't it?
Well, because basically she has to stay with Annie to make the lie going, so there's no...
she doesn't, because Mitch never comes here. He never picks her up. I mean, later on when shit hits the pan.
But she can't risk it, though. She's already told both Mitch and his mother, oh, I'm staying with Annie. So if it is any... and also, it's not that far away from where their house is.
This is true, yeah. I mean, everything in Bodega Bay is basically within eye line of anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so after Annie stops eye-fucking her and lets her in, the school teacher begins to wonder if the gulls will ever stop migrating, because we are also clocking, oh yeah, there's a large school of birds up there. What are they doing?
I do find it interesting how everyone in this movie is really interested in birds. Even the first scene with birds in the pet store, I'm kind of like, wow, people really like birds in this movie.
Yeah, what's up with all the birds, folks? Why do you care so much? Live on the ground with the rest of us. Don't be looking up in the sky.
God.
Okay, so at dusk, Melanie drives her car to the Brenner household. This is our introduction to Kathy, played by a very young Veronica Cartwright.
I did not remember this was her. I didn't know that she was actually a child star before she... I mean, like, imagine being a horror fan or whatever that looked like in this time period in 1963. Mm-hmm. And then getting, oh my God, like that child actress, like she's doing Alien and Invasion of the Body Snatchers in 1978 and 79. So it's like, whoa, like watching her grow up. I didn't know. Have you ever seen this movie called The Children's Hour, Joe?
The title sounds familiar, but I definitely haven't seen it.
Imagine it's The Crucible, but instead of witchcraft, it's lesbianism, and instead of like the 1700s, it's a school in like the 60s.
Okay, when are we watching this?
So it's Audrey Hepburn and it's Shirley MacLaine, and Shirley MacLaine is the definite lesbian. But basically, it's a movie where it's based on a play, a really popular play, but like it's an all-girls school, and one of the girls is a huge bitch, and she makes up a lie saying that she saw her two teachers kiss or something like that. And
I saw Goody Proctor with the lesbian.
Yes, exactly. It's about the fallout of that. But I checked, and Veronica Cartwright does not play the girl, but she's one of the girl's lackeys.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Really good. You should watch if you've never seen it.
Oh, okay. So you've seen it. Mm-hmm. You're vouching for it?
Because we did the play when I was in high school.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry, that sounds salacious for a Texas high school.
But see, it was for our one night to play at UIL, so it wasn't really something we put on for the school, it was something we did competition with. But it's also a play that has a cast of 13 girls and one male.
I love that. Because, that sounds like the makeup of many drama classes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so Kathy is lovely, and obviously she is completely smitten with Melanie, so she wants her to stay for dinner, which of course we were going to do anyway, but also she wants to know about the lovebirds. I love this weird little detail where she questions if there's a male and a female because she can't tell, and I was like, oh, considering so much of this film is about, gender normativity and how sexuality can be a little bit dangerous and cause birds to attack. That's a cute little tidbit.
I didn't know either that lovebirds are a type of parrot.
Oh, that makes sense when you see them in the close-ups, huh?
When I saw them, I was like, wow, they are green.
Yeah. I mean, when was the last time you saw lovebirds in person?
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a lovebird in person. If I did, I didn't know I was looking at them.
There you go. Maybe it's because you need to be looking up at the sky more.
I guess so. Except lovebirds are native to Madagascar, so...
Okay, so when are we going to Madagascar? That's what I'm asking. All right. So, yes, we get this talk briefly about the chickens are acting peculiar. They're not eating the feed. I'm going to call this guy. I'm going to bitch Fred out because there's something wrong. What do you mean, Fred? Oh, other people are talking about their chickens acting weirdly as well. So
I do. We spend a lot of time on this phone call with Lydia. And it's one of those phone calls, too, where we don't get to see or hear the other side of the conversation. It's just Tandy acting. But, man, she is, real pissy about these chickens.
Well, okay, so this is the scene where I started to realize there's something odd about the way that communication is being framed in this film. And not just because, we're only hearing part of the conversation, but just this way where she keeps going to say something and then Fred clearly interrupts her and she pauses and then she goes again and then she gets interrupted. And I really felt like, people are talking to each other but not hearing each other. And I was like, how does this intersect with what we're learning or not learning about birds? And I never quite got there.
Okay, because I feel similarly about the scene in the diner whenever that woman, the older woman, is trying to tell her about all the birds, but then she keeps getting interrupted.
Yes. It happens all throughout this film.
Yeah, a lot. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we don't see dinner. We just go to a dissolve and then we're done. And Melanie is playing the piano for Kathy. And this is some really good character exposition backstory done in just a couple of quick conversations. So it's Melanie and Kathy as they're playing the piano and talking. And it's like, Mitch knows a bunch of hoods in San Francisco. So he's comfortable hanging out with people who are not on the up and up, or I guess it explains how he knows who Melanie is, but also that he wouldn't be threatened by somebody who isn't quote unquote perfect, like what his mom clearly expects.
Right, because he's hoods, I'm assuming, is just like, it's criminals? Like
it's slang for criminals.
Yeah.
It's probably not something we would say nowadays. But, I mean, this movie has a very tone-deaf joke here where Mitch says, oh, yeah, you know, I definitely defended this one man who killed his wife with a baseball bat because she interrupted his baseball game on TV.
This felt like, oh, yeah, we need to get it's a cell block tango, but like for the men.
Right? Yeah. It was just a bit of a, oh, okay, that's a detail to have included in this movie. But then in the kitchen, as Lydia is doing the dishes, she's talking to Mitch, and she has also read the paper. So she actually also knows who Melanie is. And this is where we get a bit of the fountain backstory. So Melanie got in trouble for going into a Roman fountain without any clothes on.
I feel like they don't say the name of this thing, but it has to be the Trevi Fountain.
Right? Yeah. You would just think.
Yeah.
Okay, so afterwards, when she's about to leave, Mitch is pressing her to admit the truth. So she does.
But Mother tells me you like to swim.
It's pretty cheeky. Yeah. But also, like, what are you expecting when you say something like this? The fact that Melanie comes clean that, no, she doesn't actually know Annie, and she didn't plan to come to Bodega Bay. Yes, you caught me in that lie. And then he goes, well, I know you've been lying about everything because I know about the fountain. And she's like, no, actually, here's the real story. And he goes, I don't believe you. And then she just goes, well, fuck you, and drives away.
Well, but because he does say, I'd still like to see you. And she says, why? His response is, I think it might be fun.
Yeah. Well, because we will come to learn from Annie that Mitch doesn't really regard women very seriously. Like, he has no interest in anything long-term or serious, in part because of the relationship he has with his mom. I did find one article, and I apologize, I cannot remember who wrote it or what the title was, but it was basically saying, oh, this feels like a derivation of Norman Bates, where we've got this man with this not so gently oppressive mother who is very domineering, controls his life, and we've got this guy who he flirts, but he doesn't fuck, and he doesn't get serious because he is under mother's thumb.
I didn't think about the parallels there, but I do wonder then why Hitchcock was okay with that being a plot point, because it does really call to mind Psycho.
And maybe this is why I struggled a little bit with that chemistry.
Yeah.
Because even though I agree with you, there are moments where, they have good banter. It's when they kiss and I don't feel the passion. And I'm like, oh, maybe he is a bit homo repressed.
So I will say, though, that scene where they're kissing, that was like basically kind of added in on the day of filming, and no one liked it.
Oh, really? Okay.
And Rod Taylor, he went to Hitchcock and complained about the dialogue, saying it was really asinine dialogue.
It is. It feels like it sticks out like a sore thumb.
And that was everyone's thought, too. But I will say, though, it's one of the only times that we really get to see Melanie...
Yeah, just be gentle.
She's vulnerable in that scene. I mean, outside of when she's getting attacked by birds, but before all the bird attack. She's
she has emotionally vulnerable.
Yeah, because she talks about her mom. I don't know where my mom is. But again, no one liked that. They were like, why are we hearing this story? We don't need to hear this story.
No.
But I would argue, though, for Melanie, it is maybe not important, but it does give you some insight into her inner person.
Yes. I mean, I fully forgot every detail that you just talked about. I didn't remember that at all.
See, I didn't forget it because in that moment, so like he says like, well, surely you must see your mother, and Tippi Hedren turns around and it's very clearly ADR'd where she goes, I don't know where she is.
Okay.
But it's not well done ADR, so I was like, wow, what happened here?
This stands out.
I wonder if they just filmed it and they're like, we got to get past this scene, y'all. Come on.
Right. Nobody wants to do it. Well, fine. We'll just ADR the line later, motherfuckers. Okay, so yes, we have ended the night on a bit of a sour note with this battle of dialogue up at the fountain. So Melanie goes home to Annie, and we have a little bit of brandy. Annie is quizzing her about dinner. This is where we get the reveal that she and Mitch used to date, so she understands. Oh, was it Lydia? Yeah, Lydia was also a problem for me. I like this line that, she confesses, Annie does, that Lydia was never outright mean to her or bad to her. There was nothing that Annie was even doing that was setting her off, because that's what Annie was trying to figure out. I love this line. I simply existed.
Well, but also the fact that she goes something along the lines of, well, and once I stopped being an item with Mitch, then she loved me. She was fine.
Yes, she and Lydia are now good friends.
Mm-hmm. And I like the conversation we have about that too, where it's like, it's not that she's afraid of Mitch leaving her specifically, but it's more so that she's afraid of being abandoned, period, or just being alone, period.
Yeah. Yeah, and it echoes what Annie is saying here, right? Where she says, I just wanted to be near where he is.
Yeah, and that's something where I'm kind of like, okay, sure. That just seems like you're torturing yourself, Annie, but whatever.
Well, because she's actually a closeted queer woman who can't accept what she is, even though she moved away from the mecca of queer lifestyle in San Francisco to come to Bodega Bay.
Right, I forgot she was a lesbian.
Okay, let me bring Ma in. So this is the first time I'm going to reference the piece from It Came from the Closet. So Ma says, of this moment, like their earlier conversation on the porch, it's full of subtext. Annie offers Melanie her sweater. She tells her coyly that it's extremely cold in her house at night. And they both pause here, uncertain, like, well, if you get a little bit cold, cheek, cheek. Coming back to Ma. There's a palpable friction in this scene between desire and the anxiety of its expression. Both women are wary of vocalizing it too directly and opt instead for coded phrasing. Double meanings. Invitations that are both sexual and platonic. But certain emotions slip through. At times, it sounds like a conversation between two lovers in the aftermath of infidelity. Annie, there's nothing between Mr. Brenner and me, Melanie insists. Annie asks, isn't there? It's a conversational rhythm I knew well. So all of the pieces from It Came from the Closet are a combination of film analysis and then personal reflections of why the film is so important to their queerness. So in the case of this individual, Ma had a friend that she was clearly crushing on, that they were fooling around with, but the other person could never accept who they were or the attraction. So Ma continues, it was a conversational rhythm I knew well, the punctuating sparks of jealousy, the careful negotiation between vocalizing and disguising desire, when to move towards it, when to move back. On screen, they are interrupted by the telephone. It's Mitch. As Melanie talks, we see both women in the same frame. Annie smoking in the chair, Melanie in the background, cautiously glancing at Annie. Annie lifts her cigarette to her mouth, looking intently at the ceiling, as if determined not to return Melanie's gaze, as if absorbed by some private pull and push of emotion.
Yeah, and I guess they could be consummating their relationship tonight, but...
Yes, yeah. I mean, the insinuation is, if it gets cold, climb into my bed, I'll keep you warm, but neither one of them can actually act on their attraction. So even though the air is laden with this sexual tension, neither one of them is ever willing to act on it. And Ma reads this entire movie about queer anxiety, this idea of, I feel this, but I don't want to move towards it, but I also can't move away from it.
That's interesting, though, because and this isn't necessarily related to the queerness, but John Carpenter has a soundbite, I think, where in one of these featurettes where he says, there's no explanation for the birds, but if you look at the movie, it's because of all these personal relationships. There are so many things going unsaid that is causing tension in personal relationships, and the worse it gets, the worse the bird attacks get. And it's only when everyone is behaving like a happy family unit as they're in that car leaving, because you have Lydia even looking at Melanie as like a daughter almost.
Yes.
That's when the birds don't attack them.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Keep that in mind as we move forward, because I think Ma's other contributions that I'm going to read will reinforce that kind of reading. Okay, so yes, Mitch has called. He has asked Melanie, hey, Kathy would really love it if you would come to her birthday party tomorrow. So Kathy has already asked her, and Melanie basically said, no, I can't. But then Mitch calls, and she says, I don't know, maybe I should. So when she hangs up, she and Annie actually have a conversation about whether or not she should go. So I'm going to bring Ma back in here.
Okay.
Melanie seems overwhelmed by the weight of the decision, unable to work out what she should and should not do, unable to translate her own emotion into action. She solicits advice because she can't untangle obligation from desire. Is she going to dinner with Mitch because she wants to, or because she feels like she should? Does she rely on coded phrasing to flirt with Annie because she is unsure of Annie's feelings? Or is it to mask her own uncertainty, to give her desire some elasticity to move back from it, if necessary?
Well, because she is basically waiting for Annie's permission to go to this thing.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I think Melanie knows what she wants to do, but she is often looking for reinforcement. Like, that's why I like this reveal that she is a prankster, but maybe a slightly unwarranted prankster in terms of the reputation she has gathered.
Right.
So I love that reflects this idea that she wants to do the right thing, but she also wants to be carefree and do the thing she actually wants to do. And I think that also applies to a potential queer reading in this film.
Oh, yeah. I think it absolutely contributes to it.
Okay, so ultimately, we decide that, yeah, she will go to the party, but first we have to find a dead bird on the fucking doorstep.
Which they blame on it being dark, but then Melanie helpfully points out there's a full moon. And then we get, again, this ominous fade to black.
Yeah, it's like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so the next day, Melanie and Mitch are walking out on the bluffs. I love this. This looks so beautiful. I mean, let me spend a long weekend in Bodega Bay with a champagne flute walking on the bluffs.
That's what I thought, too. Also, it is now Sunday, by the way, everyone.
Okay. So she's talking about her work, her philanthropy. Yeah, like she's actually a bit of a good girl. She's trying to do the right thing. Like she was buying the Mina bird for this other person that...
Her aunt, but she was also trying to play a prank on her aunt because she wanted... Okay, yeah. I couldn't tell. So she said because one of these days that she's working, she's learning another language, and she says specifically 4-letter words. And so she was trying to get this Mina bird to say 4-letter words to her aunt. And I was like, yeah, was she teaching it to say fuck?
Yes, 100%. The word we can't say in this film, but obviously everyone is thinking. Yes. Okay. So they're having this great walk and talk. We're reconnecting. And then all of a sudden, gulls begin to attack this birthday party. And Trace, it's my favorite thing. It's children in danger. We just see a bunch of these children go down. These birds are plucking at their heads and their bodies.
So Veronica Cartwright, this is a real bird that came down and swiped Veronica Cartwright's head. She had bird seed in her hair to get it to swoop down.
Okay.
But yeah, there are so many, like, no children die in this movie, but children do get mauled in this movie by birds. Which, again, adding to Melanie's character, because Melanie saves 2 girls in this movie at different times. Yes. But we just see this girl just lying down, kind of like, she looks like she's in a tantrum, where she's kind of like banging her like fists and like feet on the ground, but it's because there's a fucking big-ass bird just pecking her on the back of the head.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Remember when I said I think that people could watch certain parts of this film and feel like there is a campy element to it? You know, I think for some people it's really difficult to reconcile the idea that if a bird attacks you, you wouldn't just smack it and be fine. I feel like people maybe need to use their imagination a little bit more, because the reality is that if a bird is aggressively attacking you, or if it gets you from behind, just hitting it may not be enough, because sure, they're smaller than us, but like that bird is doing damage as you're trying to get it off. Yeah. So like you're being injured.
It's the beak and the talons both. And also, like, I mean, I feel like if a bird is attacking you, like it knows to go for the eyes. So you're also trying to like cover your eyes while this is happening, which makes it even harder.
Yeah. The delicate parts, you're bleeding, the talons are scratching, and so on. It's not like, oh no, Daffy Duck is after me. Yeah. It's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yes, we gather a bunch of children, we hoard everybody inside, we shut the door, and it's like, what the fuck was happening there? And Melanie and Annie both clock this as now, okay, this is the 3rd weird incident. So we had Melanie out on the motorboat, and then we had the strange bird that died on Annie's doorstep, and now this. So what the fuck is going on?
Yep.
I do love that Mitch uses this as an excuse to say, oh, Melanie, you should stay for dinner. Annie's already gone.
Okay, but Lydia's also like, oh, well, you know, if you get on the freeway, which is much quicker to go home, you should really take the freeway.
Yeah. Subtlety, be gone. I want this bitch out of my house. Okay, so ultimately, she does stay for dinner. We just jump over meals. People don't eat in this movie.
That's fine.
So up next is the sparrow scene. And I agree with you that the optics are not as convincing as many of the other attack sequences, but the sheer volume of birds makes this sequence so exciting.
I think, the mayhem and chaos in this scene makes me kind of not care. And again, I've never really noticed like the fakeness of the effects before, but I've also been watching old VHS tapes of this. Like, I think the last time I watched this was a VHS, and it probably does look better there than it does on a 4K disc. But But yeah, this is because the birds aren't even necessarily attacking them, but they're just causing pandemonium.
They're just everywhere. They're breaking everything, right? I mean, one of my favorite moments in this is how we use broken china to connote that an attack has taken place.
Yes, because that will come back very soon.
I love it. Okay, so basically pandemonium, as you said, but we eventually managed to get rid of them. We block up the fireplace with the table and so on. And then we end up calling in Officer Alma, who is played by Malcolm Atterbury. And he just doesn't believe this. He's making all kinds of excuses. Oh, well, maybe they were attracted down the chimney by the light. What the fuck are you talking about? Do people constantly have birds entering their house every time they light a fire? No.
I mean, to be fair, though, what is the police chief of Bodega Bay supposed to do about birds?
Right. Yeah. Fair. So, even though we have provided him with all kinds of proof or evidence, eyewitness testimony, he does not believe this. So we just have this kind of sad scene of Lydia going around and picking up the broken pieces of china. I like this because I'm probably projecting, but I feel like I'm reading into this that this was the china set she had with her husband.
I think you're correct. And honestly, like, maybe it's because of Tandy's performance and the fact that, she isn't portrayed as like a villain or anything. But like, I actually really do empathize with Lydia, especially because, I mean, her husband died 4 years ago, but that's still relatively recent for it being your husband.
And she is obviously still very broken up about this. The moment later in the film where she's in bed and Melanie brings her tea and she talks about how she doesn't have the strength. Her husband was the one that had strength, and now she doesn't have anyone to rely on. And, Kathy is too young and Mitch has his own life and she just wishes she could rest. I was like, God damn. Yeah. The grief in this scene is so fucking palpable.
And this does work better than the scene that we shoehorn in with Melanie and Mitch earlier in the scene.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah. Okay, so Melanie ultimately invites herself to stay the night because of this incident. So in the morning, she hears Lydia heading into town. And yes, this is the other broken pottery reveal. I love the way we do this reveal.
Because again, like, I was 9 years old watching this, and like it was PG-13. This is a PG-13 film, but this corpse, which, by the way, this is Monday now. I love that the birds wait until Monday to attack. It's very kind of them.
You know what? We gave you your weekend. Now it's our time.
But like, honestly, seeing an eyeless corpse, like with blood around the eye sockets in a movie from 1963 was not something I was expecting to see when I was 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah. There's also some choice editing in this scene. So basically, Lydia walks in. She sees a gull dead in the window, half stuck in the broken glass. We see that the room is completely covered in debris. There's feathers, there's dead birds, and then we see this man Dan, his body in the corner with the eyes plucked out. But there's like this series of rapid cuts on Tandy's face.
Well, no, it's also on the corpse's face.
Sorry, it's on the corpse's face. There we go. Yes, it's like jump cut, jump cut, jump cut, and I really think that it works.
No, I do too. And so the funny thing is, obviously, this is a shot or like a series of cuts that I just remember. Like, this is the one thing I really remember from this movie. And obviously, the imagery of an eyeless corpse is something, but Hitchcock's rationale for the jump cuts we use here is because he says, well, if you actually saw this in real life, it's like doing a double take or a triple take, where you're kind of like, wait, what? So he was trying to mimic that, where if you actually came across this, you would be doing a triple take, because we get 3 jump cuts in this moment where we see that, and they're zooming in.
Yes, okay. I was clocking the zoom. I was not clocking the jump cut, but yes. It's not my favorite piece of editing in this movie. I'm willing to bet that you can guess exactly which one I'm going to say is my favorite.
Oh, I don't, but I hold on to that, because this is actually one of my favorite pieces of editing. And I will say also, this was a matte shot with this corpse, by the way.
What?
So the 2 eyes were painted as a matte. The makeup man would put black where the eye was in the matte painting, and then Alfred Hitchcock would get the print, and the black part wouldn't be processed or developed, so he would paint whatever he had to paint for the eyes, aka deep holes on the glass, and then superimpose that or composite it over the actual like scenery.
That's so wild. I'm astounded that we couldn't just do this with makeup.
Well, and the thing is that there is an actor here. This is a stunt actor, and he has like wax on his cheeks to make his eyes look a bit more gaunt.
Okay.
But the actual like hollowed out eyes, that's the effect. That's the matte painting we're doing here.
Okay. Interesting. I never would have known.
No, not. I thought this was a dummy.
Yeah. It's so well done. That's wild. Yeah. I love that detail. Okay. Mm-hmm. So obviously, Lydia is freaked the fuck out. She flees in panic, but she's almost rendered mute. You know, there's a guy who's working outside and she doesn't say anything to him. She just tears around him, gets in the car, speeds home, immediately collapses.
I do love this. Like, we almost like after she walks out, she's kind of like, to the farmhand guy. We just cut to this, again, this wide shot of her car speeding down the road.
Yeah, and I love that we understand the geography because we already saw Melanie either drive around it or go by boat. Right. So we know the route, and we just kind of follow her along it.
Well, I guess that maybe that's also kind of why we have that scene too, is to establish the geography. But it's also like the Brenner farm is the only like house on this side of the lake, apparently.
Yeah, it's very isolated. Although, you know, you can see it from Bodega Bay because we had that shopkeep just say, oh yeah, it's right there, follow my finger. So you know they're not that far away, and yet it's insurmountable when the birds start to amass.
Mm-hmm.
Which I love. Okay. So, she collapses. We put her to bed. Melanie ends up, this is the makeout scene, whatever. And Melanie ends up bringing her tea. This is where we talk about her grief. And yeah, it's so good. I think Tandy is really, really great in this scene. One of the things that I like about this is how we simulate that she has gone into shock. So we start the conversation when Melanie first comes in by saying, Kathy is at the school with those big windows. Do you think she's going to be okay? And Melanie reassures Lydia. We have this conversation about strength and, how I'm tired and this kind of stuff. I do like that she also says she wants Melanie to stay because she doesn't know Melanie, but Mitch likes Melanie. So that makes her uncertain. Like, I don't know what to feel about you, so I need you to stay so I can know what to feel about you.
I like the vulnerable honesty here.
Yeah.
This is, I think, one of the best acting scenes in the film, both for Tandy and less to a lesser extent, but still good, for Hedren.
She reacts well to it, yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that this ends with Lydia almost seemingly forgetting that she's already asked, or, she repressed it and then she remembered, oh my God, I saw a dead body, the birds, oh my God, Kathy. So she goes, do you think she's okay? And this is what sends Melanie to the school, is she will not stop thinking about it. Lydia won't. So I'm just going to go so that I can at least reassure her.
Yeah. And get ready, y'all. Buckle up.
Here we go. Okay. So Melanie goes to the school and she decides that she's going to wait outside as the children sing this fucking song on an endless loop. Oh my God.
This song. Okay. So you were probably too old for this, but there was this series of like children's musical videos in the 80s called We Sing.
Okay.
They were, it looked like a fucking like low budget church put this stuff on, but like they're really, 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 really famous. And there was one movie, by movie I mean like an hour-long VHS tape, called We Sing in Sillyville, where these two kids, like they entered a coloring book, and there was a woman named Silly Wham who lost all of her colors, so they had to go to all the colors, and all the colors had like a family around them. But anyway, the Red family.
Sounds cute. Okay.
Yeah. Whatever. But the Red family, they had Ristlety Rostlety, to where I was like, I heard this song in The Birds, and I was like, I have heard this song many times. Right. Where the fuck have I heard this from? And I Googled it, and the only thing that was coming up when you Google like Ristlety Rostlety is this We Sing video. And I was like, that's weird though, because this We Sing video is from 89. This movie is from 63. What is it? So, luckily, I found out.
I was going to say, okay, if that had been the end of the story, I would have virtually punched you.
No. So it's basically a really old folk song that really only has one or two stanzas to it. And the writer, Evan Hunter, he found it and they got it in there. And then they called him when they're filming saying, hey, we need more stanzas because we need to have it fill the entire scene. Right. So Hunter wrote like a bunch more stanzas for it. And because he wrote, it was public domain, by the way. That's why I was able to do this.
Okay.
But because he wrote those stanzas, he still, to this day, or I guess until he died,
he gets royalty.
He gets royalties for it. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that is so dumb. I mean, good for him. Make that money.
But I married my wife in the month of June. Ristlety, rustlety, mow, mow, mow.
Yeah. I mean, what educational value does Annie have
I
for
don't
teaching the children this? It sounds good. They're on key, so that is a bonus. Maybe they were going to do it for some kind of play or something. I don't know.
I'm going to send you that Weesing video, by the way, so you can see the kinds of shit that I grew up watching.
Christ. It's going to crack this whole case wide open, isn't it? Oh, this explains everything. Why is Trace this way?
I mean, apparently, but when I was a kid, I would run around going, "Mow, mow, 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 mow," because I was trying to sing this song, but I had a speech impediment, so I couldn't sing the song.
Ah, adorable and annoying.
Yeah, my tongue was tied too close to the bottom of my mouth, so I had to have my...
the little snip, huh?
Yeah, I had to snip it, yeah.
Yeah. Not circumcision, just the mouse snip. Yeah.
No, that was done when I was a baby. This was
okay. Moving on. So yes, children singing on a loop, and Melanie is waiting outside because she doesn't want to interrupt. So I think this is the most infamous scene in this movie, right?
It's either this or the overhead shot of the town.
Okay, yeah. So basically, Melanie sits down in front of this playground, and slowly we see that the birds are gathering behind her, and she doesn't quite notice. So it's this impending threat. It's the famous Hitchcock thing, right? We know something is going to happen. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Well, sorry, I'm assuming this is not your favorite. Your favorite editing is when the guy in the car blows up, right?
Correct.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I think we'll talk about that. But yeah, so I love this though because we see a bird comes and flies behind her. She does not notice it, and we edit. But the way we are cutting this is we are occasionally, but very rarely and scarcely, showing this jungle gem. So we'll see a bird go, but then we hold on Melanie, and every time we cut back to Melanie, we are zoomed in a little bit more. Yeah. And up to the point where her face finally fills the screen. Because again, this is Hitchcock knowing, we know that these birds are going to do something. But then I love that he shows the birds on the jungle gym, and they're not a whole fucking flock yet. But then he keeps the final shot on Melanie is holding, and she looks back at the school because she's nervous 2 or 3 times during this single shot. And it's you can feel Hitchcock going, I know you want me to show you that jungle gym, but I'm gonna make you wait.
100%. He's just delaying because we're ratcheting up the tension. And I love that even when she notices, that's not when the attack happens. She gets to go inside the school. It's Annie, shut that back door. We're absolutely not going out that way. Hey, we got to get these kids the fuck out of here. How are we going to do this? Because, we had Lydia talk about the giant windows, and we are now seeing these giant windows. We know there's nowhere for the kids to hide if there is an attack. And Hitch knows that, of course. So it's just this waiting game of when are these birds going to attack and in what form? And you think we're going to get them crashing through here, but we don't. We have to simulate a fire alarm.
A fire alarm. By the way, too, because whenever she does finally see the whole flock on the jungle gym, there's a point where she kind of stands up and she has this look. And this is one of those moments that was put up against Jaws, where after the shark comes out of the water during the chumming and Brody kind of gets up and looks. Yes. This was a mimicking of this shot from the birds.
Okay, I can totally see it. Yeah.
But yeah, so these kids...
Oh, hang on. Before we go to the kids' stuff, I just want to quickly bring in Ma because obviously so much of the reading is about this queer anxiety, and the scene is filled with anxiety. So Ma says, Melanie is thinking pleasurably, anxiously about Annie here. Like why doesn't Melanie just stand in the school with her? And if you're looking at this from a queer reading, it's because she cannot be in the room with the object of her desire. So she just thinks, I'll wait out here, and if she comes out, then maybe I'll know what to do, and so on. So, sorry, back to Ma. She says, so Melanie's thinking pleasurably, anxiously about Annie here, repeatedly glancing back to the school. The horror here is not about action. It's about anxiety, anticipating what will happen without quite knowing. That's the scare and the queer at the same time.
Oh, I love that.
Right? Okay, so now, talk to me about the kids. What do we think of this scene? Here's my thing. I'm just like, Annie told them to stay quiet and to be fast. And the minute these kids start to walk away, they all just start screaming.
Screaming and running, because the birds haven't even gotten up yet. And what it is the camera holds on the jungle gym.
I do love that.
But then before we show the kids, we hear their footsteps running and running and
being
running.
So fucking loud. And we're like, well, yeah, obviously all these birds are going to go after you dumb little shits.
So, fun fact. I think this is mostly fake birds. So we have the compositing here, obviously, and then we have a lot of fake birds that are tied onto children's hair and clothes and things like that.
Yeah.
But also, these kids, I love this. They're running on a treadmill because we're doing full like Scooby-Doo, like rotating background. Like this is what they're doing. And Veronica Cartwright was like, it was really dangerous to be in the front though, because if you fell, the rest of us were bowling pins.
My God, how big was the treadmill?
but the treadmill fitting all these kids.
Wild. That's too funny.
Yeah, with the fucking background just rolling around as they run.
Sure.
This is fantastic. And this is not even like the centerpiece of the film, but again, I love that we're attacking all these kids. And one of them falls, both Kathy and Melanie go back to help her, so we've got that at least.
Yeah. So, none of these kids are actually characters, but because they're children, we're extra worried for them because they feel so much less prepared to handle themselves, to beat these birds off. So, yeah, we've got Melanie and Kathy going back for this one girl who we'll never really see again, but we do end up hiding out in this car. And you think, okay, are the birds now going to attack the car? Because we just don't know what they're capable of. But this is where we start to really establish this pattern that the bird attacks will happen, they will last for a certain amount of time, and then they will just disappear, they'll dissipate. So in some ways you just have to be able to wait them out, and I like that this scene helps us to understand that while also establishing stakes.
Yeah, and I think in the original story by Daphne du Maurier, like again, it's still, most of it's left very vague and ambiguous, but the conclusion that the radio comes to is that the birds only attack when the tide is coming in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we definitely don't get any kind of clarity around that in the film.
Not at all.
Okay, so we end up back in Deke Cutler's diner, and this is our big patron scene. So we've got everybody listening as Melanie calls her. I think she's talking to her father, but it could just be people at the paper.
I know, it is her dad because when like she's talking about crows and blackbirds, and this woman, Mrs. Bundy, is like, oh no, they're very different. And there's this, it's a really funny beat where Hedren just goes to the phone. They're different, Daddy.
Oh yes. Yeah. So she's trying to convince him that this is what's happening. And we will find out later that part of the reason the story even gets out is because this phone call went through before the lines go down. Mm-hmm. But in the mix, we also have a drunk religious doomsdayer played by Carl Swenson. And he keeps saying it's the end of the world. We've got a fisherman named Sebastian, who is played by Charles McCraw, who says, oh yeah, something kind of similar was happening down on the docks, but I don't think it's this war on birds that you're talking about. So he's partially skeptical, but also a bit of a believer. And then, yes, we have lesbian coded ornithologist, Biddy, I put. So Mrs. Bundy is played by Ethel Griffiths, and I love all of this kind of inconsequential information, but it makes the film scarier when you hear facts like birds have been around for 140 million years and that there are over 100 billion birds in the world.
Also, because she never believes her up until it's too late. But like she says at a certain point, while she's not believing, if the birds decided to attack us, we would lose. There's nothing we could do. They would win.
Yeah, and I feel like this is such prime territory for horror films, right? We've gotten a similar statistic to things like cockroaches in Mimic, or even the 50s, atomic age kind of stuff, where you're just like, if this kind of animal decided to rise up, humans be fucked.
Yeah. But this is also the weird thing. So she's giving this speech and going into all these really scientific terms about what birds are and all this kind of stuff. And
my dear girl, if birds decided to flock together.
but there's a part as she's giving her speech, she's lighting this cigarette, and then she gets interrupted by a waiter placing an order. And she waits and she stops and she continues on, and then it happens again later. And I was like, why are we doing? I don't know why we're doing this. It feels like a comedic beat to me almost, but I'm not sure.
I wonder, okay, so yes, this is obviously another instance of this kind of miscommunication or interrupted communication that the film seems to be imparting. I wonder if it's that it's almost modeling how humans don't listen to each other, so we find it difficult to actually form a kind of community or bond in the same way. Like the birds, we hear plenty of squeaking and squawking on the soundtrack, right? They're clearly in communication, maybe planning something. The humans, we never get our shit together in this movie until the end when there's no words. Think about that final scene, right?
Yeah.
Everybody leaves the house silently. Nothing needs to be said except, can I bring the lovebirds?
Yeah.
So maybe that's it. Maybe it's like humans need to shut the fuck up and just learn to work together.
Well, and the only person who's actually listening to Melanie in this scene is the woman who seems the most unhinged, this mother of these two kids.
Yes, I love it. Can you please stop talking so quietly? You are scaring the children.
I thought this woman, like, I looked her up because I was like, she looks like Rachel Dratch. If this is not Rachel Dratch's mother, I'm going to be really upset.
Oh my God.
She's not.
Rachel Dratch time traveled back. She's in the birds.
They have the same face, and I'm just saying.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to bring Ma back in. So Ma says, could you please lower their voices, please? They're frightening the children. I can't help but read this dialogue as a metaphor for the subversive power of queer desire. Its disruption to heterosexual norms, to the nuclear family, to the social status quo, this perceived impending horror.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got Mitch and Officer Malone coming in because, of course, we've heard the commotion. The kids mostly managed to get home, we learned. So most everybody was fine. But yeah, Officer Malone basically hand waves Dan, that's the guy that Lydia discovered with the pecked out eyes, just says, oh, we think, human thieves or somebody broke into his house and the birds got in afterwards. You're just like, dude, we're bending over backwards to excuse this shit.
I mean, luckily it doesn't take long, though, because we're about to... The whole thing's about to fly off the rails.
This is true, yeah. So this hysterical mother with the two kids berates this businessman who is day drinking, to which I was like, he finishes his drink and then offers to drive a single mother and her two kids. It's like, the 60s were wild. But yeah, so she says, we got to get the fuck out of here. We got to get back to San Francisco. So they start to get in the car, and meanwhile, we have another bird attack commencing at the gas station. So a man is trying to fill his car. He gets swiped by a bird. He goes down. The gas is just leaking all over the place, down the street, around the corner.
This is every shot of this gasoline, like just the puddle or whatever the hell, just like racing down the street is so suspenseful.
As we have said numerous times when we cover Hitchcock, it's the bomb under the table. And this is not a bomb. This is a gasoline path and a lit cigarette. This is, I think, my favorite example of the, it's coming. It's just a matter of when. This is so fucking good. And I don't know, there's something so lo-fi kind of janky, but yes, you called it. My favorite edit in this movie is where we watch Melanie react in almost static shots as she goes from, I think it's right to left. Yes, right to left. And it's just, she's looking in one direction as the fire goes, and then we see her looking in the middle, and then we see her horrified reaction at the end as the gas station goes up. And then we end this sequence with this beautiful, literal, the shot is called a bird's eye, and then a gull flies into it as the town is just engulfed down the center.
Yes. So a couple things. So yes, the editing, it was absolutely highlighted even by Hedren herself, who was like, honestly, it was really interesting because the way they edited that, I wasn't even really moving in the shots. It was like it was like still photos of me reacting. And then because it's so rapidly done to where if you're not really paying attention, you might not even register that these are separate shots.
Yeah, it's so good.
This overhead shot. Okay, this I would argue is the most iconic shot from the film. But
okay.
This and the jungle gym. But all right, this, would you believe that most of this overhead shot is a fucking painting?
Yeah.
So
no, I mean, you're saying it, so yes, I'm obviously believing it. But yeah, in hindsight, okay.
So here's the thing: the fire was real. This was all done in the Universal Studios lot. And so what they did was they had their artist Harold Michelson come in, and he drew basically the town and cut out a not easy to cut out outline where the fire was going to be.
Jeez.
And so basically, the whole shot was laid out by Michelson very carefully for the camera position that was available. So the actual shot, like on the Universal lot, is on top of a mountain where the Universal theme park is now. They were up there and had to set up a big glass plate. Albert Whitlock, the matte artist who was in charge of this, so they shot from the top of the mountain downwards towards the parking lot, and they mapped off the areas where people and firemen could run, and he proceeded to paint on the glass from the top of this mountain.
Oh, wow.
And he was doing this, he was painting the town over this. So the black areas around the fire were basically where he painted the matte.
Sure, yeah.
And it's wild. So this was done on the original camera negative, and the original negative is preserved up until the very end of shooting, and it's not developed. That's why it's a big important thing whenever they're like, oh, it's a remaster from the original camera negative. Like, that's
right.
It hasn't been touched. It has never been developed.
Okay.
But this also means that you only have 1 to 2 chances to make it right. You can't just go back and fix it in post like we do now.
No.
So this shot is like a once-in-a-lifetime chance they had to get this right.
Right. Oh my God, the high stakes.
And also, it's funny, Hitchcock says, yeah, you're right, everyone calls it the bird's eye view. Hitchcock says that is not the case because we are not actually from the bird's POV. This is the god's. It is the god's eye view.
Shut up, Hitch. Alma, I'm going to be deliberately difficult about this.
And then, of course, yes, the birds themselves were shot completely separately and is a composite shot, yeah.
That much you can tell, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Fine. But the fact that, like, everything but the fire itself is basically a fucking painting, I was floored.
Amazing. Ugh, the attention to detail. Just the work that goes into it. It's so much. Okay, well, let's talk about the phone booth sequence. This was just like, oh my God. Okay, so we've got this, the Blob remake. What else is phone booth horror?
Phone booth. Phone booth.
That's not horror. Well, okay, yes. Even as I say it, yes.
It's genre, but whatever.
It's genre. Okay. So Melanie locks herself in the phone booth, and it initially seems like first she might get run over by an out-of-control car. And then we see through the glass that men are trying to put the gas station out with fire hoses, but they can't control it because they're also still being attacked by birds. And also, they seem to clearly not be trained to manage the fire hose. So we get times where our vision and Melanie's is being obscured because the water is hitting the phone booth. And then at one point, she tries to open the door. I think this is what many people would consider the funniest sequence in the film. She tries to open the door a couple of different times, and at one point, a gull sticks its head in, and she just kind of grabs it by the beak and forces it back out.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little funny.
And whenever she's opening the door, by the way, that's a matte painting of the town behind her.
Shut up. God damn. Okay.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the birds start to ram the glass, and it is not going to hold up. It seems very desperate, and this is when Mitch comes to rescue her so that we can seek refuge back in the diner.
Yep, where everyone is waiting, and this old biddy, Mrs. Bundy, is not saying a word.
No, and I love this because everyone seems terrified or suspicious of Melanie. It's one of the two, sometimes both, but clearly it's very much you. You're the one who brought this to us. You're the one who cried wolf, and now we're all having to pay for it. So yeah, we get the sentence that I said off the top, Who are you? What are you? I think you're evil. You're the cause of this. Melanie slaps her, which is satisfying. But I'll bring Ma back in here just to kind of tie into the earlier sentiment about, oh, you're freaking out the children. So Ma says, this perhaps is the epitome of the film's queer anxiety. We dwell not only on Melanie's own anxious desires, but in the reception of those desires too. We reckon with the idea that those desires might unravel the social fabric of the small town, that she might be the source of the horror.
Yeah, bringing in that lesbian energy.
Basically, it's like we were a regular, normal town, and then you brought in this queer desire, and all of a sudden, everything has gone to hell.
Well, where's that anger towards Annie? Didn't Annie just show? I guess the birds didn't coincide with her arrival.
Well, and one could argue that Annie has been repressing any kind of queerness. She left the Sin City behind because she moved out to Bodega Bay so that she could be closer to Mitch towards heteronormative desires. Like, okay, you're regular now. You don't have to worry until Melanie shows up, reawakens the queer desire, and now all the birds are attacking.
Okay. I'm buying into all of this, by the way.
I know, right? You should read the piece. It's actually much more convincing than just me telling it to you piecemeal.
It's okay. It's probably the same as me trying to explain this technical stuff on this film.
You know what? I think we're both doing great.
Yeah.
So the gulls have dispersed, so we are free to exit the building temporarily. So Melanie and Mitch walk up the hill. Kathy is safe inside Annie's house, but poor Annie is dead on the pathway.
So we don't say a lot here. We can tell Annie's dead. I do love that Melanie's we can't leave her outside, so he just puts her inside the foyer, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so I do have another Ma reading. I think this is the last one.
Mm-hmm.
So Ma says, when Melanie realizes what has happened, she screams and begins to cry. We should note this is also the only real time that anyone grieves. Every other time people go into shock or almost like a paralysis, they kind of shut down. Mm-hmm. This is the only time anybody actively cries over a dead person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The queer person. So Ma continues, beyond the symbolism of Annie's death, necessary in that her existence was an obstacle to the film's heterosexual coupling and her death makes room for their union, it also functions to reveal unresolved feelings. So when Mitch rescues Kathy, Melanie is still sobbing about Annie, begging, don't leave her there. So that's, in Ma's opinion, why we have to move Annie's body, is because Melanie is so upset, we have to move her out of harm's way.
This girl, she's known for less than 2 days.
Well, I mean, it's U-Haul lesbianism. Tried and true. No. Okay, so we move back to the Brenner house so we can set up for the climax. Mitch boards everything up. He and Melanie notice that the birds are starting to amass again. It seems to be larger and larger numbers of them as well. Ooh, that queer anxiety, that queer desire, it requires so many more birds to tamp down on. We learn that the phones are down, so we cannot contact Daddy anymore. We hear a news report from San Francisco that downplays the attacks.
Well, no, it's only what Melanie told her father.
Yes, yeah. So word has not gotten out, which in evoking the mist earlier, I think this is another direct comparison, right? It's like people try to leave, we try to get the message out, we try to send for help, and it never gets there because people never make it. So, yes, I do also appreciate this moment where Lydia yells at Mitch because he doesn't have a plan, or she doesn't believe his plan, or she's just so fucking freaked out that what if we run out of wood? And I feel like, yeah, I would be the Lydia in these situations.
Well, but she does twist the knife, if only your father were here. So we're getting that kind of stuff too, which is just like, ooh.
Ouchie. She does apologize almost immediately, but yeah, that's one of those, the bell cannot be unrung.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so some time later, it's dark. We don't know exactly how much time has passed, but everybody has sort of gone to their corners and we are silent and reflecting. Mitch just keeps checking the doors and windows because he needs to be useful and masculine and manly. And then Kathy gets sick because she's a child and she doesn't know how to fucking process any of this. I like this moment as well. It's not overplayed, but initially I was like, what if she's got some kind of bird flu? Maybe that's the problem. Oh, no, she's just really stressed out.
It does always really bother me, though, whenever people vomit in movies and all we hear is them coughing. I don't know about you, but I don't cough when I'm vomiting. I'm like,
it's
yeah, exactly. Like, I projectile vomit when I vomit, so there ain't no coughing happening.
Yeah, I usually kind of cough, gasp after the fact, wiping the snot away and all that good stuff.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. This is what people wanted to hear on their commute in or on their lunch break.
This is why I don't drink as much anymore, because that's what I do every time I have a hangover.
Oh boy, yeah. You are a messy drunk too. So.
Yeah, I am.
All right, so the bird calls begin again, and everybody just immediately begins to panic because clearly things are escalating. I love that this is a mostly audio-driven attack because, sure, we'll see beaks striking through the wooden front door. We will see Mitch get his hand beaten the fuck up by this one gull who just goes, fingers are tasty.
Okay. Isn't, though, the shot of the door getting pecked through,
it's so scary.
It is one of my favorite things in this movie. I was like, again, we don't see any of this happening. Everything that's happening, we are only experiencing from the inside of this house with the characters. And that's also where the sounds, we are hearing all these sounds that have been playing on that fucking keyboard machine that they got for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it scary, is that you don't know, you know what's going on outside, but you don't know what's going on outside. Like, these things are close to getting in the fucking house.
Oh, yes. And I also love that there's no dialogue, really, throughout this scene. So nobody's screaming, nobody's yelling at other characters. Nobody's even really working together. We're basically just trying to make ourselves as small as possible and hoping that it will just end. I want it to go away. I want it to stop.
Yeah.
So the lights go out and we see in low angle shots that everyone realizes, okay, this is the end. The attack has finished. So we've got the fire dimming. We've got people sleeping. Melanie has stayed up. She's got a flashlight because she hears something. Again, the sound design. You can hear it. I was like, what is that? Oh, right. It's a little bit of fluttering. It's wings, Trace.
This has to like be helping to like establish the trope of like, oh, hear a strange noise, go up the stairs.
Yeah.
And it's mirroring Vera Miles going down this fucking stairs to the fruit cellar in Psycho.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like just stop investigating. Here's the thing. Do you think she would have been okay if she hadn't have gone up to these bedrooms or this attic, whatever this space is? Or do you think it's just, well, they were already in the fucking house?
Well, she wouldn't have been attacked in the... Because here's the thing. When she gets attacked, Melanie is catatonic for the rest of the film.
Yes, and I'm going to say this is the other too campy bit for some people, is where Melanie gets caught in this room, and I don't subscribe to this reading, but I know there's a bunch of people who are like, this dumb bitch can't even open a door.
Oh, no. I think the idea here, though, is that the force of the birds flying towards her is so forceful that they are pushing the door shut every time she tries to open it.
I think it's the way it's visually presented, because Melanie just gets increasingly weaker and weaker. I mean, hey, we never see her eat in this movie, so I'm just saying. But she cannot fend these birds off, so even something as simple as opening the door, because she's getting it from all sides, there's no way for her to do something as simple as just twist the knob and skate out. And then, of course, she falls in front of the door, which means Mitch cannot open it to rescue her. So yes. I think this sequence is so fucking effective.
Oh, I love this scene. And this is the controversial scene in terms of the behind-the-scenes stuff. Because I won't go too much into the alleged sexual assault that Hitchcock committed against Tippi Hedren, because that was during Marnie. So if we ever cover Marnie, we can talk about it there.
Yay.
With this scene, so Hitchcock had told Hedren for the entire shoot, they're going to be using mechanical birds for this scene.
Okay.
The Monday morning they started filming the scene, assistant director Jim Brown came into Hedren's dressing room, and Hedren could tell that something was off because he wouldn't make eye contact with her.
Shit. I've got some bad news. Alma, I decided we're going to torture the blonde.
That's just a Transylvania accent. I don't know what you're doing.
I'd like to hear you try.
I'm not. That's why I'm... Okay, yeah. But he told her the mechanical birds didn't work, and she freaked out because she had seen all the claw marks on the bird trainer's arms, even though they're wearing gauntlets on their arms.
Yeah.
But when she got to set, she said, it was extremely obvious that they had never intended to use mechanical birds for this scene because they were
fucking fully lied to her.
You walked in the scene, she goes, oh, there were already the bird cages set up. There was netting around the set. Like they had planned for this before today.
Wow.
There were 3 big cartons of ravens and seagulls. Prop men with their leather gauntlets hurled birds at Hedren for 5 days, Monday through Friday.
I'm sorry. The language that you're using, hurled and 5 days. This is an absolute no.
She literally had to fight them off. And she said that the birds were not attacking me, but they were definitely flying directly towards me.
Yeah.
And that was, again,
that's terrifying.
And she was getting cut up by their beaks, by her claws. Even though they weren't attacking her, they were still coming into contact with her.
Sure. Yeah. Because if not, you're not getting the shot. The scene doesn't work. But that, oh, wow. That just sounds terrible.
The editing in the scene matches that the shower scene in Psycho, where we're doing a lot of jump cuts. So you think there are more birds than what's actually there, as same as that you think there are more stabbing motions in that shower scene than you think that are actually happening.
Right. Yeah. You can absolutely see the parallels. Like we learned how to do this on Psycho, and then we're putting it into practice again here.
Yes. Now by Friday, so again, this is the 5th day she's having birds hurled at her.
Oh my God.
They had her on the floor. Rita Higgs, Hedren's hairdresser, put cloth bands around her body with 2 little elastics sticking up outside of her so that they could tie the bird to it.
Okay.
A live bird, again.
No.
Finally, at some point during this Friday, Hedren just threw all the birds off her and yelled, "That's enough," and started crying in the middle of the set as a lot of the crew just kind of laughed. Not necessarily laughing at her, but more like, I think they were all as exhausted, maybe not as exhausted as she was, but like they did laugh. And so...
Could it have been maybe uncomfortable laughter?
Maybe. But the whole next week, Hedren was in the hospital for exhaustion.
Jesus.
And she does say in this interview, she goes, look, I mean, was it hard? Yes. But was it fun to do? Yes, but because she was in the hospital for exhaustion for the next week, she wasn't really around for most of the final act of this, the final scene of this movie. So like whenever Mitch is carrying her down the stairs, that's her double.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Good doubling. Couldn't tell.
Yeah. Well, she's got hair covering her face, but yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, my God. As you said, off the top, Tippi Hedren is in, I want to say, like 99% of the shots in this movie. So the fact that she never had a day off on top of all of this ridiculousness, no big surprise that she's like, oh yeah, I'm exhausted. I mean, I'm sure she was not faking it, but part of it was like, yeah, I'll just stay here for a couple days more.
Yup.
Oh boy. So you are not wrong. By the time that Mitch actually gets to Melanie, she is basically catatonic. We take her down the stairs. We try to patch her up. We give her some brandy.
Okay. But one of my favorite moments in this movie.
Is it the flight or fight when she kind of awakens?
Yes, because she still thinks she's in there with the birds. And she, that to me is like,
terrifying.
It's the most like fear I've seen on a person in this movie.
Yeah. It's an instinctual reaction. She's not even processing that those are people who are trying to help her, because her mind is just like, no, you're still being attacked. You need to defend yourself.
Yeah.
This is live or die.
Yep.
Ooh, yeah. It's good. It's good. Mm-hmm. But she is so obviously in shock. It's very deeply upsetting, because the movie ends ambiguously, but also because it seems evident that the Melanie we knew and loved, like the vivacious woman who pulled prank, like she's fucking gone, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the movie doesn't ever offer us any kind of reassurance that she might come back. I mean, you could also just read it as, well, it doesn't matter. They never made it out of Bodega Bay anyway.
Well, actually, the one thing about this movie that I forgot was that these attacks are isolated to this community and some of the surrounding communities. So this isn't a worldwide attack. It's just this place, which I did not remember at all.
Mm-hmm. And you know, I can be glib and funny and be like, well, as big as the queerness she brought to town. But if that's true, then San Francisco should have been
they should have been fucked. They should have been massacred.
I think that's just called birdemic. That's what happens.
Well, actually, I think that birdemic uses the same technology to do the birds as they do in this movie, but they didn't get actual like bird footage. They just have stills of birds that are just moving up and down the frame.
Sure.
If you've never seen Birdemic, you should just look up some clips of it because it is hilarious.
I have not, but that does sound enjoyable. Yeah. Okay, so yes, Melanie is a little catatonic, and Mitch understands that the priority is to get her to a hospital. But of course, as we know, it's not quite that easy.
Well, exactly, because there's birds everywhere. And I mean, bear in mind, we haven't seen the outside yet. All we have done is hear everything.
Yeah, so we don't know, because the attacks come in waves, right? So we think, well, there's this period of silence. Melanie just got attacked upstairs, so maybe that counts. But what is actually happening outside? We haven't set foot outside in quite some time. So that's what Mitch does. He needs to go and get the car to pull it around. And it's funny that we don't talk about this sequence more. I feel like people just jump directly to the uncertainty of the ending. But like watching him tentatively, quietly, just creep past, I wrote in my notes, thousands of birds. Yeah. It's so scary.
Well, and a lot of these are real birds too. And so I will say one effect that I really like is in a lot of scenes, especially the jungle gym scene, where there's hundreds of birds just in the frame. Yeah. A bunch of them are actually fake birds, but Hitchcock's trick, he says it's an illusion of the eye. You put in a couple real birds and the movement of them tricks your eye into thinking all the fake ones are moving too.
I love that.
But I agree. The tension and the suspense. And you are right. I believe I even did that when I was like, oh yeah, let's just move on to the ending. Because but this is a sustained like stealth sequence.
Yeah. So we just have to watch him as he slowly makes his way. And, Hitch does another good job of kind of hiding how many of them there are, because we start with Mitch's feet and we just see, okay, there's gulls, there's maybe some crows, maybe some pigeons, I don't know. And then we kind of keep pulling back so that we can see he's making his way to the garage where the vehicles are. And the whole roof of that is covered in birds. The entire ground is covered in birds. It feels like we have never seen this many birds in a single shot before.
One touch that I really enjoyed actually is, and I never noticed this before, and this clearly looks like a soundstage. This is definitely a soundstage setting, but I love all the claw or the talon marks and peck marks on the garage door.
Yeah. Like basically no door is safe from these birds. Just try to get in.
And maybe this is my modern mindset coming, but I guess I didn't really think that Rod Taylor Mitch was going to die in this scene. But
no.
I keep going back to that line that Kathy said. After Annie's death, she's like, we went outside, she pushed me inside, and they covered her.
Yeah.
And we have seen birds attack people in this movie. It's mostly just like birds clipped onto people's hair or whatever. But we haven't seen birds cover someone. And my modern brain was kind of like, oh, maybe that's cluing us in that we're going to get to see that at some point. And we don't.
We don't, no.
But I would have liked to.
It's in our mind, right? It seems like a possibility because the world, the film, has mentioned it.
Yeah, exactly. And so this, I do find all the suspense very effective. If only because we are dealing with so many real birds in this particular shot, it's also just like, how are they not moving?
Okay, birds, everybody stay still now. We're going to do the big shot. So yes, Mitch ultimately makes his way into the garage. He climbs into the truck. He turns it on so quietly, and we hear a radio report. And you mentioned this earlier, that he basically hears that these attacks are more or less only happening in Bodega Bay or a couple of surrounding areas. So the word has kind of gotten out. But we also confirmed that even though we're contemplating sending in the military, we still have no real idea why any of this is happening.
Well, I think also, I almost don't like the reveal that it's only happening in Bodega Bay, because I think it removes some of the ambiguity from the end of the film, where you're like, oh, they're going off into the darkness, but like, what's
just
waiting for them
outside
there?
Of town, right? And they'll probably be fine.
Exactly. So that's something that on this rewatch where I was like, oh, I don't know if I like that. I mean, I like it in the sense that, my characters are safe.
Right.
But I think it removes some of the impact from the final shot.
I agree, although I think for me, so yeah, basically we're at the end, we bring everybody out very quietly, except for Kathy, who asks if she can bring the lovebirds, and you can see Mitch pause and think, they're in a cage. We haven't had any issues with them. Yeah, it should be okay.
Yeah.
But everybody climbs into the car. So we've got Lydia holding on to Melanie, as you said, very protectively, almost like the daughter, all it took was an environmental catastrophe to finally get Lydia to loosen the fuck up about Mitch's prospects.
Well, I guess, do you think that Melanie and Mitch are going to last? They've known each other for a weekend.
Yeah. I don't think the film actually cares.
No.
It's more just, this is a new found family, or the recreation of a nuclear family, right? So in some ways, a status quo has been reestablished. Like, oh, Melanie's queerness? Don't worry. We've killed Annie, and now she's in the car. We've got a surrogate mother. We've got, a potential romantic suitor. We've got a surrogate daughter that we can care for. So everything is hunky-dory. Just got to get past these birds.
Well, and going back to that John Carpenter quote where he said, the birds attack when there is unrest within our social circles, when these people are not sitting well. And in this scene, because, Lydia finally supposedly accepts Melanie into their family. That's why the birds aren't attacking. They are in harmony now.
Yeah, there's no conflict. We're not fighting. There's no tension or anything like that. So yeah, we just watch as the car drives slowly away. But here's the thing. I love that it's ambiguous, but I feel like, well, maybe this just says more about who I am as a person compared to maybe somebody who's a little bit lighter, a little bit sunnier, happy-go-lucky. I don't think that they get out of this, because as we cut to black in the credits, we can start to hear the sounds of another attack building. And they have not gotten out of Bodega Bay yet. They haven't even gotten back to the town. They're still driving around the water.
Well,
so I don't think they make it.
I will accept that read, even though I don't agree with it.
Okay.
But I love that you said, then cut to credits. There is not even a The End title card on this movie. And here's the thing. I don't even think Hitch wanted the Universal logo at the end. I think the studio added that, because basically it fades to black, and then the Universal logo comes up, and then it's over.
And then we're done.
There's no credits. So I remember the first time I watched this, I was very much like what?
Oh.
Like, that's it?
Yeah, and we should clarify, this isn't completely uncommon because older films often do the credits at the beginning. So we talked about that, right, you know, when we opened the episode, because it's just credits with the sounds of birds, and occasionally we would see them flying over. So technically we've already done what we would normally see. It's just that it also feels so fucking abrupt. Like, the movie doesn't offer you any kind of reassurance with its ambiguity, and then you don't even have time to sit with it through the credits. It's lights on, movie's over, get the fuck out.
That's what I was going to say. Like, imagine, like, just lights on in the theater after this happens.
Yeah. Because I think the other thing that I find really fascinating about this film is you don't realize that you're in the big climactic moment. Like, Melanie getting attacked, the house getting attacked before that, those are the climactic attack sequences, but you don't know that when you're in it because you would expect them to have to battle, you know, run to the car, big action and so on. And the film ends with this really quiet, almost contemplative, hey, what do you believe happened? And I think contemporary audiences would probably also find this underwhelming. Like, if you tried to release this film now with this ending, I think people would say, well, where the fuck was the big moment? Come on.
I believe that people probably thought that in 1963 when this happened. Like,
Maybe.
I mean, this is a more commercial film, but I still think that, I mean, like, is the ending satisfying for you if you're coming looking for the killer bird movie?
Yeah, it's a question mark, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit of a question mark. And truthfully, because they've been talking about a remake of The Birds forever. Like, I remember the last time it was, I think Naomi Watts was attached to it, and that was maybe even a decade ago. But
okay.
And I would be very curious, but nowadays I'm kind of like, well, we're going to CGI these birds, and I feel like we also are going to try to explain the birds.
Okay. So what you're saying is you don't want to play a game.
I want to play a game. The rules are simple. All you have to do is sit here and talk to me.
Oh, we're doing a remake game? Yeah, let's play a game, Joe.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, first question, sequel or remake?
Oh, remake.
Because yes, we know that there is a Birds 2, and it's apparently disastrous. It's a made-for-TV movie. It's not even so bad it's good. It's just so bad, don't bother wasting your time. That's what everybody says.
The director of that, though, it's a TV movie from the 90s, by the way, but it's it's an Alan Smithy film, but it's directed by Rick Rosenthal, the director of Halloween 2 and Halloween Resurrection.
Yeah. And it sounds like nobody liked that movie. Tippi Hedren is apparently in it, but she's not playing Melanie Daniels, so that just feels like another missed opportunity.
And that's just weird, right? Like,
it's super weird. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, look, am I going to welcome a bird movie? Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, when's the last time someone remade Hitchcock?
That would be Gus Van Sant.
It was what, 27 years ago?
Yes. Okay, so you're refusing to play the game. You don't actually want a sequel or a remake.
No, I mean, between the two, I take a remake. I mean, what purpose would a sequel have in this movie unless it's like, what, 50 years later, 60 years later? God, 60 years later, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be interesting to do a kind of legacy requel. You know, obviously you're not going to get Tippi Hedren or any of the other actors. I mean, I guess you could try to get Veronica Cartwright.
Yeah, it'd have to be her. But then, I mean, again, I feel like we're just leaning into, well, I guess it depends on how she's characterized, but like, what if she's like Laurie Strode from Halloween, where she's like, I'm going to get you, birds!
Open on scarecrows everywhere around the house.
Yes!
Stay off my lawn, birds!
She's got the doomsday shack, and she's just like, yeah, oh my God.
Yeah, she's basically the drunk doomsdayer guy from the bar earlier. Okay, yeah, I think I would probably just want a straight up remake. You know, ideally under the conditions that we would not just go a shitty CGI route, or that we would have somebody who really does it. So I guess follow-up forced question, Trace. Okay. Part 2 of this game, you have to make the remake. Who directs it and who stars?
Oh, God. Who's a modern... Okay, I could see Sydney Sweeney in the Melanie role.
Oh, my God.
Is that a good oh my God or a bad oh my God?
You know, I just think she's a bit commercial now that she's done all these commercials for jeans. So I don't know if she's the best bet.
I think that's what I was thinking too. I said, who is an underrated actress because I guess Sydney Sweeney has a bit of people like her. Well, minus her jeans, but but I don't. Yeah, who's someone that we could play kind of the same thing, where it's like maybe a not super experienced actress, but like is glamorous and gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can tell you mine because obviously I made up the question, so I've already thought about my answer.
Yeah. Well, what is yours?
Okay, so we talked about The Mist earlier. So I think Frank Darabont would be the man to direct this because he's got the capacity to write this, to direct this in a way that it is going to maintain the kind of cold, calculated pacing. We know he can do visual effects, deep, rich characters. So I can see that vibe carrying over to a remake. And then I was like, okay, I don't just want a Hitchcock blonde. You know, I think Naomi Watts would be great, but also it just feels like we're trying to do Tippi Hedren. Right. So I said, how about another horror girly who never gets her fucking credit?
Micah Monroe.
Lupita Nyong'o.
Oh, okay.
Because we know she can do this, right? We've seen her in a bunch of horror titles, but nobody ever says she's top of mind when we're thinking about these kinds of things. Like, I think she'd be great.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Actually, for your director, just because of how meticulous Hitchcock was, I'm trying to think of modern day meticulous directors, and I don't think he would do this. But given that he's done remakes and adaptations before, what about David Fincher?
Okay, I thought you were going to say Gus Van Sant.
Yeah, bring Gus Van Sant back. Let him. You know what?
I'm just doing nothing but remaking Hitchcock films now. Yeah, no, I definitely think that could work. I agree with you. I don't think he would ever take it on. Also, he's too busy remaking Squid Game, purportedly. So.
Oh, right. What am I saying? Yeah.
No. This is like carte blanche, fantasy universe, sure, anybody you want. So I think David Fincher would be interesting for sure. I do think we would get all the things I was looking for, where even if he was using augmented FX or something, I think he would make sure that it looked pristine.
Yes, absolutely that. So yeah, you're right. I feel like he would just make everyone use real birds. Fuck it.
Maybe.
Okay, everyone. Well, that has been The Birds, an exhaustive look into this nearly perfect film, I would say.
Yeah.
But before we announce what we're covering next week, some quick housekeeping. If you want to get in touch with us, you can reach us on Blue Sky and Instagram at HorrorQueers. Shoot us an email at horrorqueers@gmail.com. Find us on Letterboxd to keep track of all the films we've covered. If you want to chat with other listeners, please join our Horror Queers Discord. And if you have a moment, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you want more content, please support the show by becoming a patron at patreon.com/horrorqueers. If you subscribe today, you'll get 421 hours of Patreon content, including this month's new episodes on Cry Wolf, The Long Walk, Him, The Conjuring Last Rites, and to tie in with that release, a brand new audio commentary on The Conjuring 2, and we've been dropping new content again on our requel tier. If you subscribe today, you will get individual episode-by-episode recaps of Noah Hawley's new Alien Earth TV show, as well as the entire second season of The Last of Us, and y'all, we are barreling too. We're almost done with Alien Earth, so, ooh boy.
Yeah, things are heating up.
But Joe?
Yes?
What are we talking about next week?
Okay, well, speaking of Patreon, we are fucking exhausted because we have been prepping for our respective sojourns to different film festivals between TIFF and Fantastic Fest, and also anticipating Scary Season starting soon. We need a breather, but also we're coinciding with a new release, so we're going to open up the Patreon vault and release our full-length episode on The Strangers Chapter 1, because that second movie is fucking coming out, folks.
It is finally coming out, and I gotta say, even though I think both you and I were a bit cool, but not as cool as a lot of people are, on that Strangers Chapter 1, I am still really intrigued by Chapter 2.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see how well or terribly we do in guessing what will come to pass.
Oh boy. But until next week, everyone, we can cross out The Birds.
Indeed. And cross out Horror Queers.